kick this damn show off right today, Chris. Let's go ahead and start talking about this Google damn shit that just got announced a few days ago. Did you watch this Google Stadia stuff?
I did not.
Okay, well, let me brief you on what went down a few days ago. Before we start that, hello everyone and welcome to the end of time. I'm Michael.
And I'm Chris.
So Google, yet another company in the gaming world that is trying to put its foot into the gaming sphere as a whole. This is not the first time this has happened. The last big time that I can think it really happened and had a huge impact was Microsoft. You know, I'll admit, I'll totally admit, whenever Microsoft had their first, I want to say their appearance was either at E3 or maybe it was at GDC. I'm not sure, but they're like, yeah, we're gonna get into the console market. We got some ideas kicking around. We want to make a console that rivals what Sony and Nintendo are doing right now. And yeah, I was skeptical. I didn't really have a reason to, even at that time. I was just like, I don't know, man. They already kind of have shit in the PC world. What do they need to do here? And you know, the Xbox and the Xbox 360, and I guess the Xbox One. I don't know much. I haven't played it really, but yeah, they're okay. You know, they're formidable. They've had their time. They made it up. They made it up there enough to where it wasn't just the big two anymore. It was the big three. So now the rumors that I heard, the news that was around this, what little bit I heard, was, hey, Google's trying to get in on this now. So Google, yes, it is a company, but yeah, they're trying to get into the gaming market. I'm thinking, all right, well, I mean, sure. I mean, what do they have to offer? Let's see. I can't really say anything until I see what I see. I can't bash anything if I don't know what it is I'm bashing.
Right.
So, full disclosure, I did watch mainly reactions of this. Again, this is how I ingest a lot of my conference stuff these days. I watched two of them separately, back to back. I watched Easy Allies reactions and Giant Bomb, actually in reverse order. Regardless, I watched their reactions to them. And so this is what I've gathered. So Google is trying to make gaming pretty much on the go, anywhere, at any time, full 1080p, full 4K, just accessible to anybody, anywhere, as long as you have their standard controller. The controller itself is what's kind of guiding this. So, but here's the thing. It's not a console, at least that I can tell. It doesn't seem like it's a console at all. It's more like you have this controller, and as long as that controller is hooked up to a device that can use it, like an iPhone or a monitor or a TV, etc., then it just pulls up the game, and then bam, it's ready to play. That's saying a little bit. There's more. There's way more to it, man. Way more to it. Think streaming, I guess, but they weren't really clear on that. It's so they an example they gave was like such. They're really trying to merge the YouTube gaming world of people watching games. Actually, let me start that over. Their big catch for this is that they're trying to catch all YouTube viewers, all video gamers, and all game developers. They're trying to get content creators, players, and creators all under one bubble. An example they gave was like this. You could be watching a YouTube video of somebody playing, I don't know, Red Dead Redemption 3 whenever it comes out. And you're watching whoever play the game. You're watching Giant Bomb play the game, and they do some cool thing where, I don't know, they take over a train. They steal a train and do a big heist on the train and all that stuff, and it's really cool what they do. You can pull up and pick up your controller and then get the game, which we'll talk about that in a second, and then it'll load up basically where they were, everything, like the whole seed and everything. It just plops down the exact scenario, location, characters, everything, and you load into it, and then you can start playing it right where they were. The idea is that you can reenact the moments that you saw. That's one of the draws of the game, or this Google Play service. The physical draw is, like I said earlier, as long as you have this controller. So let's say you're playing a game on your television with your controller, and then you have to go somewhere. You can pause the game, have it send that game streaming, or basically just throw it over to your phone, and then using your controller you can play the game on your phone. And then if you go somewhere else, you can pause the game again, and you can send it to your laptop or your Pixel, I think is another one they have. So a lot of Switch mentality going on here. You know, the portable gaming everywhere is one of the ideas, but it's also the, you know, you can watch somebody playing a game on YouTube and go, oh, I want to try that game out, and then you just get the game, and you can just get it as it is, or you can load up where they were or pick a point in the game. Like basically the streamers are save stating for you, so to speak. And also on the other end, you can, if I understood this correctly, you can on the spot chime in to developers and go, you know, hey, this is some things I think about your game, or whatever. Or if you're playing it and or streaming it, developers can chime into you. Like they can just come into your game and be like, hey, what's up? And here's some stuff you can do, or here's what's up with the game. I realize this is a lot to digest, Chris. If you didn't watch the GDC thing, I didn't expect you to. I didn't think I was going to until I saw it plastered everywhere. And I honestly didn't know anything about it until I started seeing little trickles of the news stream. It's almost like I saw shit one day, and then the next day the GDC happened.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, okay, this is kind of a, you know, big out of nowhere announcement from them, but I mean, really, E3 is the next time we're going to hear about it, and I think until then, it's whatever. Because it's not like this hasn't been attempted before. Sure, they have more bells and whistles, but you know, game streaming isn't a new thing. You know, there's PlayStation Now, there's all these other things. You know, there's too many factors. You know.
Yeah, lot of factors. I was watching Easy Ally's newest podcast today, and they went further into other details. And I mean, they reiterated questions I already had. I just didn't record our podcast before that. I watched their show. But yeah, I mean, like, pricing immediately comes into play. You know, they brought up a good point. If you're watching a game being played on YouTube that you don't have, for one. Even backing that train up, let's talk about possession. So it's great that you can do this, but I'm guessing you're still going to have to purchase a license to be able to play this game at any time. So if you see a game being played on YouTube by whoever, and you're like, oh, I want to try that game, and you go, bam, I want it. Yeah, the game will get to you in quote unquote 5 seconds, but I'm assuming that as soon as you press that fuck yeah button, there's probably going to be 2 or 3 more after that going, are you sure you want to play this game? Are you sure you want to purchase this game? Are you double sure that it's okay for us to charge your credit card the $67.92 for this game that you're just saying, yeah, I want to play because, you know, Ego Raptor played it.
Unless it's subscription
well, then there
based.
you go. Right.
Like
that's
PlayStation Now and stuff.
Yeah, all pertinent questions that did not necessarily get answered at the GDC. Are we talking you're going to have a service that's going to offer all these great things and you're going to charge us $200 a year? Or is it going to be, you know, you're going to buy a Google Gaming Sphere Plus Platinum service for $50 a year and you still have to buy the games? We don't know. Lots of promises were made at this GDC, at this Google Stadia announcement. Lots of I don't want to say fluff, more like a lot of pizzazz with not a lot to back it up.
Mm-hmm.
Another example, I almost want to say I would be too fucking nitpicky if I really picked this out, but everybody else has, and I just haven't went back and watched it again, but it's kind of activated my almonds just a little bit, because one of the games that they demoed for this thing, well, I don't even really want to say demo, they showed like a snippet of it being played, was Doom Eternal. I've had Doom Eternal pre-ordered since October of last year, 2018, and supposedly that game's not coming out till December of this year. I got a long way to go to wait for that game. And they were like, yeah, so one of the games that's going to be coming to this thing is Doom Eternal, and we got a demo running right now. And I was like, you got a fucking what? I want to play this demo on something other than this Google bullshit. You know, I've got it ordered for the PS4. Can I get my demo? But you couldn't. So they were really pushing Doom Eternal as in, you know, hey, if we're gonna, we knew that if we were gonna show this shit off, we had to do it right. And what better game right now? Or they said that like it's the most intensive game around. And I don't know. I'm not a. Please tweet at us and let us know if I'm wrong. I don't necessarily consider Doom's 2016 to be the most graphically intensive game out there for your computer right now, but maybe I'm wrong. But they were really pushing Doom Eternal that, like, yeah, if we're gonna show what this shit can do, we're gonna put it up to the test with Doom Eternal, the new game coming out that's gonna be more graphically intensive. I'm assuming, this is my words, not theirs, than a 2016 game. And here we go. And they showed it running, and apparently it was a little choppy, which that's not good. You know, you're really selling how powerful this Google Stadia service thing is going to be, and then the game that you throw up, which is you're already taken out of my hands because I can't play this shit, is not even running that well. It's not running like you said it was going to. That's bad. Yeah, just man, they're pushing a lot of instantaneous, like you just surf through wherever you find this game, you get it, you're playing it within minutes. The processing power of this thing, they were throwing teraflops out there. That phrase came out again, which is, it just makes me roll my eyes into my asshole. I'm telling you, how just teraflops, the new thing. If we just throw big numbers out there with teraflops on it, people will be wowed. They said it has more processing power than the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 Pro. Sorry, the Xbox One S and the PlayStation 4 Pro combined. It's like 10.4 or 5 teraflops. I was like, oh god, here we go. Anyway, that's.
I don't even understand how this even works. If it's supposed to be streaming, so what is the device? Is it like a Roku?
I don't know. I honestly do not know.
I mean, that's. I thought the whole thing was like you don't have a box, you don't buy a console, but where is that processing power?
It's almost like they were saying that the servers that I feel like they're storing everything on their end, and they're just pushing it to you via your internet. They made a big disclaimer about, you know, all of this is going to be it's going to be limited by your internet. So if you don't have, you know, like my internet, if it's my little 12 megabytes, then might not be that good. Okay. But for Google Fiber, you know, and all these high, you know, those, then it just goes right to you like nobody's business.
Okay, now I understand better. Actually thinking about, because basically thinking about like a Twitch stream, you know, I'm doing the processing power on my end to push it out. I push it at 1080p. That's what you're going to get as long as your internet can handle it. So similar concept with a lot more with back and forth instead of one way.
Yeah. And there's a lot, I mean, there's a lot to be said about Google, excuse me, as a company. I mean, they are massive. They are titanic in size. If anybody around here could do something this big, I do have full faith that Google can do it. My issue is just all the little details that are already being brought up: pricing, availability, are we talking like, okay, they really wanted to push first party support, AAA games, okay, well, you're gonna run into the same problem that the other 4, if you count Steam, already have. Exclusives are exclusives. And I was like, well, that's okay. We have a Google, I keep forgetting this damn name, Stadia. We have a Google Stadia first-party team put together, and they're going to be making first-party games. Okay, well, that's fine, but who are these people? What are their company backgrounds? What games did they work on before they got here? Are you going to make stuff that's strictly and solely based on this streaming idea, or are you going to get the new Assassin's Creed and the new Bloodborne and the new God of War and the new Gears of War? Like, what are you bringing to the table? When it came to that part, Chris, the most important part of any conference like this, I didn't see the games. I saw a few, but nothing that interested me, and the stuff they showed that was first party was like, whatever. A big argument also was made that, hey, calm down. This was the GDC. This is not E3. This is not something for you. This is for the companies to. It's like a sizzle reel for developers out there, so they can go, yeah, I want to get down in this. I want to be involved in this.
Sure.
So they weren't trying to put out, these 6-7 minute flashy trailers for us gamers, but still, this is their foray into the world of gaming. This is, for all intents and purposes, this is their first step on the moon. They're landing and showing what they have to offer. And right now, all I can really say is, I don't want to sound like I'm fucking pessimistic about it, but I need to see more than what I saw. As a consumer, as a gamer, I need to see more than what I saw. Because what I saw was minimal. What I heard was a lot. A lot of, hey, man, this stuff's going to be coming to you awesome. It's going to be so great and so big. And we have the power and capacity and companies to push all this at you. Great. Well, if this is going to be the number 4 of the gaming world, you got to show me why. And I don't give a damn about what teraflops you can do. I care about picking up, the newest Mario game and having fun. I care about playing Persona 6 on wherever the fuck I can play it on,
Right.
So yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I didn't see anything to blow my socks off, and that's fine. It's GDC. Who knows? However, they did put. So they're, along with the pricing, Chris, along with the lack of subscription pricing and gaming pricing and all that, there's also pricing for whatever this is. If it's the controller, there's no pricing for the controller, nothing like that. And there are also no definitive dates, except for they did say this shit's coming this year. So yeah, 2019. So big things are about to hit sometime, because March is about to be done.
Yeah.
So could be summer this year, could be holiday this year, who knows? But they did say that all of this is coming this year. I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, just thinking about it, like how I understand how it works from a visual standpoint, like I was comparing it to streaming, but how I'm curious what it loads, what memories is stored in. Again, I'm guessing it's going to be like a Roku type thing. It has to be for something, some storage, or a Chromecast type thing. And then how does the input work? Is there going to be, input delay sounds like it's going to suck. Because if you're not storing enough of it locally, then every button push has to go back to the server that's running your game or whatever. Mm-hmm. I don't understand it quite yet from a technical perspective.
Yeah. I'm so neutral on it, man. That's really about as best as I can put it. If the games that I saw didn't wow me, I didn't see anything new that was blowing the market away, and if we really want to go beyond this, Chris, we could have a whole separate conversation of, do we even really need this? I mean, if they're pushing the power of it, from what I gathered. You know, we're going to have the ability to push this super ultra high def 4K, soon to be 8K resolution straight to your fucking eyeballs. It's not going to lag. It's not going to have all that. I mean, that sounds like a big old pipe dream. That's fine. That's great. But if I have a console that can do that or come close to that, I don't really need this. So your next fallback is going to be, well, now our exclusives. And then I'm just throwing my hands up in the air again. Like, goddamn, are we back to this again? Are we back to console wars in 2019 and 20? Like, just... I don't know, man.
Yeah, I think everything is just, especially right now in technology, everything's so cloud-focused, streaming-focused. You know, all these buzzwords and buzz technologies, if you will. We'll see.
Yeah, that was another big part too. I didn't take specific notes on all that, so I'm kind of throwing it all from the hip. But they did mention cloud a lot, like they were pushing the cloud part of it a lot. So yeah, more to come. We'll see. I don't know. I didn't research to see when they're gonna announce anything more on this. Again, I kind of got one left hooked and right hooked really fast on this, and I took an interest in it because, yeah, it's, you know, if Google, a giant company as Google, is trying to step their foot into the gaming world, I mean, they're formidable. You know, I always see Google as a forward-thinking company, always trying new things and getting away from, look, we're not just a search engine. You know, we have vehicles, and we're putting our fingers in lots of pies. And with that kind of forward-thinking, technologically focused, idea-driven company like Google, yeah. So what do you guys have to offer? What do you bring to the table? But they're missing well, as far as what I saw anyway, the big thing that they're missing right now is what we come to video games for, and that's the games. You know, if you're not pushing that, then you're just adding another place to buy it. Which, okay, sure, but that doesn't really do anything for me. And if you're just doing nothing but the most exclusives and gobbling up everybody else, well, it doesn't seem like you're in it for the gaming. It seems like you're in it for something else. So we'll see. Time will tell. Chris, what you been up to this week, man?
So, pretty much nothing but games this week. I don't think I have anything non-gaming to talk about.
Yeah, no. Ditto. I got future stuff this weekend I'm doing, but yeah, this week, nothing.
Yeah, so I finished up Devil May Cry 4.
All right.
Took me 7.5 hours to beat. Good game. Going through the Devil May Cry series as a whole, and I'll talk about it more after talk about 5, but every game, this is a really good case of a game that actually got better with every iteration.
Oh yeah.
It's not there's sequelitis that happens. There's a lot of series where you go, well, this one's good, but skip that one. This one's good. This one, the only reason you would skip the old ones is just because they didn't age well. But from a game to game look, it just got better and better. Gameplay, story, everything.
Yeah.
I think really my only issue with Devil May Cry 4 was the whole sword revving thing. It didn't really seem useful. There never really seemed like a good time to use it.
I always take that as it's another cool point for him. I mean, it's a sword with an engine on it. That's okay. As cool points go, you got me. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I agree. Same thing. And I've only made it a maximum of like 3 missions in the DMC4. I didn't use it a ton. I don't think, I mean, across the board, I haven't really used it a ton. But yeah, I get some cool points.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I would have to put this. We need like a weapons versus episode, because I would love to put Nero's revving fucking motorcycle engine on a blade up against Sam from Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, who put a fucking basically a pistol or a rifle stock in his. So when Nero revs what are we saying here? I love this. We're talking about revving a sword. So when Nero revs his sword, it basically gives it more power. Whereas Sam, when he pulls the trigger, it shoots the blade out. He has to quickly grab it and guide it as it slices whatever. That's pretty badass. Yeah, that's a debate. That's a debate between which of those two is better. I really think Sam would win, though. But yeah,
I don't know. I'd have to. I'm not familiar with the Metal Gear reference, so
it's a good game, man. It's a good solo standalone game.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't think I have a whole lot to talk about 4. I jumped straight into 5 afterwards. So
well, we can have a not so behind the scenes question for each other. So do you want to, because I played DMC5 as well, do you want to just do what we did like last week and just save that toward the end? Okay, yeah.
So I played 2 other games.
Okay.
Path of Exile, and I actually forgot to put this on my list because it's just been kind of a thing I play on the side, really. But I played more Path of Exile. I'm understanding it a little bit better. I'm making a little bit more progress. I did start my second character to do a different build, and it's not. And it's funny because I was like, okay, I'm going to do a different build, but the build I went with for the second, this Nova Vortex build, starts out with the same character as my other build. My minion build. So the first little bit was the same, but I made one choice difference. Like in the first reward you can pick, and that just completely changed the way I played the character from my first character. So basically, like level 2, completely different play style already, and that's without getting into all the stuff that I'm now getting into at like level 25, and it's fun. It took me some getting used to once I got the new jewel, because our gem, I think they're called jewels. I don't even. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Same thing.
Yeah, fuck this game.
But it's an addicting game. It's like, okay, it's that, Diablo. All right, one more area. I have a very hard time not picking up everything and making like 50 trips back and forth. Because there's no like straight up currency like gold or whatever. You have items you get, or scraps to make items you get from selling stuff to NPCs, and that's what the player market is too, because there's a player market. You basically trade equipment for these. They call it currency, but it's not gold. It's like an item that will change the modifiers on a piece of equipment, or will upgrade a normal piece of equipment to a uncommon, or from normal to rare for the higher tier thing. So you have all these different quote unquote currency items that do different things to equipment, and that's what the market is based around, which is a really cool concept. And it does kind of negate the whole purpose of picking everything up and selling it, because selling most stuff just gives you basically scraps to make scrolls of wisdom, which are basically just your identify scrolls, which you quickly get a lot of just by selling stuff that's worth selling. I think I'm sitting over maybe 200 by this point. So it really becomes pointless. Really hard. It's a hoarder's nightmare. But yeah, I'm having lots of fun. Don't think I have much to say about it. I'm still just diving in and trying to learn. I'm on Act 2 now. I think I'm almost through Act 2. Maybe. Yeah. So the other game I just picked up today. I don't know what your plans are for it, but it is Sekiro. Shadows Die Twice.
Oh, yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
boy.
I've had Sekiro pre-ordered for a long time now, which just me saying that phrase alone is a fucking new world to me. I had something pre-ordered, Jesus. But to further wave my fucking pinky in the air, it was available for pre-download Thursday night, and I did pre-download it last night while I was playing other games and doing other stuff. It is downloaded. It is sitting here. I will probably be working on it starting either Saturday or Sunday. If anything, maybe as late as next week. Because based off what I'm about to say for the other games, I'm kind of at like a middle point.
Okay.
I really do feel like a shitbag if I have something pre-ordered and don't jump into it immediately. However, my mental priority above that is I've never been that person that has to play the newest thing right then, right there. Thirdly, most important, we said this last episode, I believe, and I know I've said it on other episodes as well, but this is a point that has to be driven home. I'd say it on every episode of our podcast if I could. This is a Dark Souls-esque game, and there is nothing more fun, nothing more engaging. There is no more heart and soul to those style games than your first run through, your first virgin run through any of those games. Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, any of those DLCs, Demon Souls, Bloodborne, and hopefully even Sekiro. There's nothing like going through those games completely blind. You don't know where to go. You don't know what to do. The frustration will level out over time when you start mastering that game. And that's the fact that is there. I run into that problem like I told you before, Chris. It's like, man, I want to go play it, but I kind of want to save it. But I don't want to save it because I pre-ordered the damn thing. Mm-hmm. What's the point of pre-ordering if I'm going to wait for a while? But I don't want to rush it. I'm in a turmoil. I feel like probably Saturday, more than likely Sunday, I'm about to get into this thing.
Yeah. So I've put 2 hours into the game, and I just kind of had to turn it off for now. I'm all about the setting. The story they presented so far is interesting. You know, the whole samurai / ninja, whatever you want to call it. That whole setting, I love it, you know. Mechanically, I haven't quite gotten hooked by the mechanics. The whole blocking, and because so when you play Dark Souls, you have a few different ways you can play it, right? Depending on what kind of build you're doing, what equipment you have, etc. You know, you have parries, blocking, dodging. You have all these things that you can use. So far, one of the issues I've had with Sekiro is dodging on, and I don't know how, you know, again, I only put 2 hours into it so far. I don't know how much it differs per enemy, but dodging so far has almost been worthless. There are only certain attacks that dodging works. And based on what I've seen, you know, the game really focuses on this, you know, parry, counterattack type mentality, which is fine on the standard enemies. But as soon as you get an enemy that's different, you know, a little boss or something, all of a sudden that just goes out the window, because then they have attacks you can't parry. So then it's like, okay, well, can I dodge? And then dodging doesn't work half the time. And I know some of it's just learning the game, right? Learning the timings, etc. But it doesn't feel good out the gate. And that's kind of turning me off. On top of, I just went through 5 Devil May Cry games where I'm, you know, rolling around, slashing, dodging.
You might need a break.
Yeah. So I after 2 hours, I was like, all right. I turned it off and I played Path of the Exile until it was time to record, because I needed to. I was getting frustrated. I was like, all right, I need to just put this down for now.
Yeah, it's one of the many things I'm looking forward to playing forward to in Sekiro when I start playing it is that. So when you take let's take two separate games in the same by the same company. You have Bloodborne and you have Dark Souls. And while yes, Dark Souls does have, for those that know their ins and outs of that game, you can play a defensive tankish person. You can just block. You can just tank everything.
Mm-hmm.
You could play a dodgy person. You can just dodge everything. You could play a straight offensive person. You just get in there and fucking waylay. You can play a mage where you just back the fuck up and nuke shit from a distance. There are multiple ways to do that. In Bloodborne, you have no shield, bruh. You just go. You have to get in there. You are 70 to 80% dodging, 10% say getting all the attacks perfectly aligned and timed and all that, and I mean you're basically you're 20%. You're basically offensive. That's all that game is, and it's going to be interesting for me to play this now and see what's different. Is this a defensive game? Is this a offensive game? Is it more of a tactful game? I do know this. If there's one lesson I've learned all the way from Dark Souls 1, and I learned that one the hard way. We're talking weeks before that shit finally clicked in my head. I will be paying very close attention to every single minimal tutorial that it gives me. If it tells me, if I pull up a thing and it says, you need to press this button to do this, I will be taking a physical note of that. Because if I don't, all those basics I'm going to miss. And when the game starts beating my face in, I'm going to have nobody to blame but my own self.
Yeah.
I've learned this the hard way in both of those games. I'm going to try my best not to make the mistake in this one. Now, the other challenge of this game is going to be figuring out where the fuck to go. Because I will admit, as much as I love Dark Souls and Bloodborne was a little better. Bloodborne was a little better about basically showing you that this is the way to go. If anybody disagrees with me, I will tell you this. Spoiler for Dark Souls 1, I guess. Definitely turn this off for about a minute if you don't want Dark Souls spoiled at all, which I suggest you do not. I did not know for the longest time that you had to equip that ring and then fall down that place to find the Four Kings. Like that just blew my mind. And yes, after the fact, behind the fact, when I went and searched what to look up, or when I looked up where to go and how to get there, I was pointed out, yeah, they tell you this and that, and if you read this and read that and read this, it'll show you that's what you should have done. You should have just inferred that's what you should do. That not exactly the best way to do games for me. Mm-hmm. Now I do enjoy the lore. I love the lore crafting in the Dark Souls universe. I really do. I love the fact that it's almost still ambiguous, that the writer himself hasn't come out and just wrote a book that lines every single thing out. It seems like there are hundreds, if not thousands, of videos out there of people still trying to put all the pieces together. And we're talking about people that master this game, people that wake and sleep reading every single detail of every item, every weapon, every armor, etc., trying to piece together the lore of these games, and they still don't seem to have it down 100%. They got a really good idea, but they may not have it 100%. That's fine. I do kind of get into that, like, oh, well, maybe this is what happened. Maybe this is why Ulasil did this, or maybe this is why Ornstein and Smo were this way. Maybe this is why so on and so forth. But when it comes to the game itself going, this is where you should go, I'm not the biggest fan of I'm not a fan of the Castlevania Simon's Quest loose interpretation / inferring clues on where to go. Mm-hmm. So we'll see how this game does that.
Yeah, I will say see how so far it's been much more linear than Dark Souls for sure, but even more linear than I think Demon Souls was. Those are the only two Souls games I played, so
Bloodborne seemed to do it a little bit better. especially with the shortcuts and everything. I mean, Bloodborne, it is shortcut porn. It's exactly what that game is. You will unlock an area 5 hours into the game, and it will have you set up paths all the way through, like to the first of the game. And you're like, oh, this opened up this way, which lets me get to here easier, which lets me access this place easier. And that's great for that. I love that. I loved my progression through Bloodborne, because the I can't go that way because it's blocked. I shouldn't go that way because there are things way more powerful than me. I should go this way because it feels like I'm getting a decent challenge. That was all throughout there, as opposed to, well, let me stop everything I'm doing because I cannot open a door, and then you pull up this thing and the description leads to this thing, and you pull up that which leads to this thing, and you go, oh yeah, you're supposed to, hold this halo up in the sunlight and wait for the winds of the west to blow you to it's no thank you. I'm not really down for that. I'm down for it to a point until it's days later. I'm like, I do not know what to do. I don't know where to go. I am itching to kill more things. I'm itching to do more combat and find more bosses, but I don't know where to go. Oh, it's this thing that I never would have figured this out. Ugh.
Yeah, I never finished Dark Souls 1 because I got stuck, and I was playing it blind, and when I go back to it, I still will, but I basically felt like my game bugged, because I'm like, okay, I have a door, I got the key for the door's still locked. So I'm like, all right, I've seen no other doors.
What you're talking about.
Yeah, I've gone through every area so many times, even going through, the stupid skeletons more than once, even though I still, they were still rough at that point, not as bad as early on, but I'm going everywhere. And I'm like, I'm done. I'm tired of this. Yeah. I'm going to go play something else.
Yep. Titular that we're talking about something like this too. It's coincidental. When I come to my week, I've got some stuff like that too. So yeah, I'm interested. We'll see what Sekiro has for me. I'm hoping great things. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm debating on, I might go and watch the first little bit of somebody's playthrough just to see, if they're doing something different than I am, or, if there's something obvious I'm missing, without going far enough to actually spoil anything for myself. Just to see, you never know if there might be that aha moment where I realized, I'm sucking because I'm not pressing this button,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's, aside from 5, that's my week.
All right, so yeah, I got Sekiro downloaded. It's sitting there waiting for me, nice and pretty. And I as well played some 5, but we'll save that to the end of this before we get into the topic. The other 2 games that I've been playing on, well, I guess you could say 3 in totality. So I went back a little bit and worked on some Resident Evil 2 remake. I'm still going through Claire's campaign. Okay. I'm in the lab. I've got the majority of the lab done. I just got the 3rd level access thing unlocked, and that's where I stopped at. Still enjoying that for what it is, man. I'm really kind of itching to see how her campaign wraps up, how that differs from the PS2 version. So that's just something I'm working on off and on. For no real reason. I mean, it's not like a disgust or I'm tired of it. It's just I'm working on lots of stuff, and I'm fixing to work on another one. So yeah. The other game, I'm trying to think, was there anything else in that little bit that I did? And spoiler warnings for Resident Evil 2 Remake, just in case. I mean, I'm only going to talk about it for about 5 minutes or so, but I had a me moment, because that's all my life is fucking me being me. And so I got into the lab area, and Chris, that one of the new enemy types in the lab area are the new upgraded plant monsters. Well, when I went through as Leon, I had a fire-based weapon that as soon as I got there, I had an overabundance of fire ammunition for this thing, and I shot and killed the first one that I came across. And of course, when I left the room and went to another room, came back, that fucker was still there. I was like, And I immediately put 2 and 2 together. Okay, they're plant-based. I've got a fire thing. I'll just put fire on them, see what that does. That burns them to a fucking charcoal crisp. Awesome. They don't get up anymore. Good to know this. I'm going through Claire's campaign, and I get down in the lab, and I'm like, oh shit, I don't have that fire thing anymore. I wonder what I'm gonna do. And I don't know, Chris, if it's just because I didn't pay that close attention, because I just started burning them all over the place in Leon's campaign. But when I came across the first one in Claire's, I noticed there's little orange like sacks on their body, and I was like, okay, obviously if I shoot all of them or enough of them, it'll go down. And yeah, sure enough, after 3, sometimes 4 of those sacks being popped, they went down. But, of course, when I came back to the room a little bit later, they came back. I'm like, alright, so that's not... How the fuck am I supposed to combat these guys? I need, like, a flame thing. Like, am I supposed to use, like, that... The electric weapon that I got? That wouldn't make any sense, though. But I guess I could electrocute them enough to where they catch on fire? This doesn't make any sense. Well, let me go back to my fucking box and see what I got. Go back to my box. One of the first fucking ammunitions I look at are the fucking flame rounds from my grenade launcher. And I went, oh, I'm just a dumbass. That's what it is. So I pulled out the fucking grenade launcher and the 7,000 flame rounds I had for it. And they're not a problem anymore at all. Well, they're definitely not a problem now because I'm pretty much done with that entire area. But that was man, come on. You can't. I blame this on me not playing for a few weeks, but no, that's not good enough. I know that I had fucking flame rounds. So, yeah. The other game I'm working on is a Steam game that I downloaded recently. I can't remember if I got it on a sale or not, but either way, it's another Metroidvania that a lot of people have been talking about past year or so, however long it's been out. It's Momodora, I believe is how you pronounce it, Momodora. And I mean, that's all I really need to say about it. It's a Metroidvania. You get abilities and upgrades as you go along. There's some fairly challenging boss fights. The first 2 boss fights that I went up against weren't that bad, but they have been progressively getting more difficult. But I've been making progress, unlocking a map and unlocking new items and new areas and all the wonderful things that just the center of me that are Metroidvania. It does have a decent little storyline to go with it. So, is it... I definitely wouldn't say it's better than Hollow Knight by any regards so far. I don't know how long this game is. I know that one of the prerequisite quests that I was on for the main storyline, apparently, was to find these 4 separate items to unlock this next room or next thing. I got those, and I'm in this new area, so I don't know if this is going to be a continuation, if there's more, like a lot more to do, but we'll see. I am enjoying it. I mean, it's been my main go-to come home and play thing. And when I get tired or bored, or if I just want to play something else, then I go play something else. But I'm making my way. I want to say I'm about 12 or 13 hours into it. I think the map said I was about 60 or 70 something % done, so it's probably going to be wrapping up fairly soon. Which, again, it's a Metroidvania, so I'm already fine with it. And I want to say I got it on sale, so I got it for a cheap price. And that many hours with this much stuff in it, it's fine. But still, if I had to point somebody that have never played one to a Steam Metroidvania, it's Hollow Knight with the biggest asterisk I can possibly put at the end of that name. The other game that I was working... Oh, go ahead.
It must have came with something, or I got it on, Humble Bundle, because I own the game. Didn't even know it.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty good. Pretty interesting. I'm enjoying it. That's the only part that really matters. So the other game And let me think. I mean, I guess I could really throw out a brief snippet. This was only like maybe an hour, and it was just to have some good old, just some fucking feel good fun right before Devil May Cry 5 came out. So this might be a little bit late, and if this is retelling a story, I'm sorry. I don't think I did, but I told a few people about this. Maybe I told Adam, and I can't remember if I said it on the podcast or not. But anyway, so I've had Devil May Cry 3 for Steam for the longest time now, a year or so. And it's always been one of those, I'm going to go back and play it, but I want to save it. That's going to be something I just want to go just enjoy myself over and have a good time, but I want to wait. And with seeing all the Devil May Cry videos, seeing Wooly and then seeing Devil May Cry being played by a lot of my favorite content creators on YouTube, I figured, all right, I'm just going to go in. If anything, I'll knock a few missions out. I mean, again, I've already done what I wanted to do in Devil May Cry 3. I beat it on the second to last difficulty probably a decade or more ago. That's enough for me. That was the level of tearing my hair out / I still think this game is so fucking cool and rad and fun. So I had this game and I downloaded it and installed it and went to go play it, and this was a good hour or two alone just getting this shit set up. It does have controller support, but it doesn't have correct controller support. I had to go find this thing and that thing and download a patch and do all this shit, and finally got the damn thing to work. And then I had to spend some more time getting the graphics to work because I had to get the screen right. And yeah, as opposed to just turning on my PlayStation 3 and popping in a Devil May Cry 3 HD thing, yeah, this is a little more work. But I finally got it to work, and then once it did work, everything went flawless. I mean, it was Devil May Cry 3, but playing on Steam. The HD remastered. Is it remastered or deluxe edition? Either way, it's the most update. Yeah, remaster. And oh man, I think I made it 3 missions in, and it was just, man, I can't say enough just how fucking fun and cool that game is. Man, that's really about it for that. The other game that I was going to work on, noticing a trend here because Sekiro was coming out. What prompted this was I was watching COG, another channel I subscribe to, and a review for Neo in IOH came across, and I watched that and I was like, yeah, I did play fucking Neo for a couple days. What? I get lost on how many other games take place of a game I'm playing, but something else came out around when I started playing Neo, and I stopped playing Neo and started playing that, and then played another game and never went back. Not because the game is bad, just the way life fucking worked. So I copied over the 80-something plus gigabytes Neo, and yeah, started playing through it. And I'd already made it past the first area, which is the giant castle area. I was into the second area at the second checkpoint, I guess you'd say. So I had to spend a little bit of time learning all the controls to myself. I didn't start the game over. I really should have, but I didn't. I just muscled my way through, because most of the stuff is pretty well taught to you on the screen. I mean, you hold buttons and stuff swaps around, and I'm fairly intuitive with all the Souls games I play that I can fuck around with the controls. And so I got back into that, and then it was trying to figure out where to go. And I did. I finally made it through the first area. It's a lot of the usual Souls style stuff where I had to plow through enemies, and then I ran out of healing shit, and then I got waylaid, so I had to go all the way back to the checkpoint, plow through the same enemies again, just hoping and praying I survived at least to get back to where I dropped my shit. Then I pick my shit up and make it past a couple more enemies and die. I mean, that grind is... It sounds bad hearing it, but I promise you, when you're doing it and you get better at it, it's so fucking rewarding. It really is. And this is the same way. I mean, you have 3 different stances in Neo, and you really have to look at what the enemy's doing. You not only want to block appropriately. You want to dodge appropriately. You also want to have the correct stance. That way, if they have their weapon up high, you can go low and get a guaranteed hit, etc., etc. So I had to reteach myself, and then find my way around, and finally got past the first level. I did a secondary mission style level. Went through that not quickly, but it's in comparison to that whole entire area. I went through it fairly fast. And then I got to the second level. I made it to the first checkpoint. Took some time, like it's always going to do. And then I met kind of a wall for me, which is fine. I mean, I've made it through Blighttown, so I imagine over time I can do this one too. But I was fucking tearing through enemies. Not only small enemies, but big enemies. And people that have played Neo know what I'm talking about. For those that don't, I mean, you've got standard... Any enemy in this game can fuck you up. I mean, you have guys that have pole arms, you have guys that have swords, guys that have bows, guys that have giant odachis, etc. I mean, and all of those have different skill levels and different difficulties. So you can fight a guy with a katana, and he is just powerful, takes a lot of hits, and is really fast. He can just fuck you up. You can find another guy that has a really big double-handed axe, and 3 hits, he's down. There's a good mixture of enemies in here. When you fight the bigger enemies, they are exactly as you would think they are. They are larger in size. They're almost like mini bosses. They take a lot of hits to take down, and they hit you very fucking hard. So I went through figuring out this path, figuring out where to go, dying, going back, dying, going back, dying, not being able to get back, losing all my shit, having to go back and build up again. I'm in that mind frame. So I went through this area from the checkpoint that I could find. I'm saying that with a caveat because it could be that I just didn't find the other checkpoint. But we're talking a good hour, if not more, that I went from I finally got from this checkpoint to where the boss was. I stumbled upon the boss area, and I backed up, and I was like, yeah, I see that up there. That's a boss room. Mm-hmm. I need to back up and find a save point. But as you, Chris, and anybody else out there that has Souls knowledge knows, if you go back to a save area or a save point, a bonfire, a lamp, whatever, when you click that thing, yeah, you get your health back. Yeah, you get all your healing potions or whatever back. But you also reset all the enemies. So I was like, well, I mean, come on. I just went through another area where I unlocked a shortcut. There's obviously a shrine / save point thing around here somewhere. I just got to find it. I walked around and walked around and walked around. I found a secret hidden enemy that I didn't even know was there. I don't know if I stumbled upon him or what, but my little helper narrative friend guy was like, hey, you should do something to that wall, and I did, and this fucking thing popped out. I killed that guy by the skin of my teeth, and now after doing that, I had like an eighth of my health left, and I had no more healing potions, nothing at all. So I kept looking around even more, trying to find a save point. Couldn't find one. I should have done the smart thing, Chris. I should have done the proper thing and either used a teleport to go back to the beginning or just walked back to the checkpoint itself and just saved and fucking manned up and walked through it. But I said, no, I'm going to go in here and see what I can do to this boss. And I went in there and I got about a quarter of their health down, and they just wham bam like fucking nobody's business. I was out. I was gone. And it was at that point that I set that game down for a hot minute. And I'm going to, if I'm going to waste that type of that anger, which I know is going to be there, that frustration of, God, this shit is fucking unforgiving. I'm going to pay that forward to Sekiro before I sit here for 2 months playing Neo, and then, you know, it takes me 2 months to get into Sekiro. If you're listening out there and you want to write in, or email in, or however you want to do it, and talk about your experiences with Neo. I'd love to hear them. Please keep it spoiler free if you can. Especially don't as of this recording. Try not to, here's exactly what you need to do. There's probably something small I'm missing. Sekiro, much like Bloodborne and Dark Souls and all these other games, I could see that there were secret paths, and there were, like, you would walk into a room and take a left because you could clearly see the left is the way to go. But if you look left but a little bit more to the right, you can see another path. It's full of that stuff. So maybe I just missed a path. Maybe I thought that I backtracked to an area and I actually didn't. So maybe there's a shortcut or a shrine that's right there by the boss, and I just couldn't find it. But man, it's really, you get that right there when you plow through about 27, 28 enemies and about 8 or 9 huge enemies, plus a secret enemy with only 4 healing potions, and then you get to the boss. I've done that shit already, folks. I've done it in multiple Dark Souls games. I just didn't feel like doing it when I did it. I'll wait till Sekiro starts pulling that shit, and I'll try to muscle my way through it that way. Definitely not a put down for Neo, because that is a challenge for me as much as any of the Souls have ever been. I will be going back to Neo at some point. I will be making my way through that game. That shit's not gonna beat me. If I have to go all the way through that shit with not using any heal potions, then I'll do it at some point. Just not right now. Yeah, that's pretty much it, except for Devil May Cry 5. So, and this will not be a Devil May Cry 5 episode. It just so happens that Chris and I were playing it, and we're going to talk a little bit about it. So, I guess a really brief spoiler-free thing, Chris. I enjoyed Devil May Cry 5. Had a good time with it. I enjoyed the way that the story went. The action is definitely there. There are multiple characters to play through, multiple weapon types to use, and multiple weapons upon multiple characters. So there's a lot of variety, a lot of encouragement for doing combos. I mean, this is standard Devil May Cry fare is in here. On top of, Jesus, it's the same as like Resident Evil 2, man. Almost photorealistic graphics anytime movie scenes came on. So, I mean, all around, if you're into these style games, I would recommend it. I think you will enjoy it. And that's really my spoiler-free synopsis of it.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, if you play through the other games, this is such a great culmination of everything into a, modern Devil May Cry game. It looks phenomenal. Amazing graphics. As you said, story. Interesting story. All the way through the ending. It's a good mix of, the humor that you know from it, but it's toned down a smidge, but not really. It feels kind of toned down, but if you think about it, they make up for it elsewhere. Especially with, like you were talking about, Dante in particular. He's a little bit more toned down, but you have some other characters that make it up for him. It took me 8.5 to 9 hours to beat the game. So it's a little bit longer than... I think 3's the only one that took me longer than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a solid game.
Yeah.
I'm setting this one to the side for, when we talk about the best games of this year. That one's on the list already, as a contender so far.
You've heard it right here for episode 127. Calling it out early. Yeah. Good. All right. So, from here on, it's gonna be spoiler heavy for Devil May Cry 5. So you've been warned. If you don't want to have any of the stuff spoiled, you should fast forward maybe about 30 minutes or so. Maybe in the future we'll add some timestamps or whatnot. But So it's good to hear that, Chris. So you've already beaten it as well?
Yeah.
Of course, you did say that. And look, man, I'm sorry. I tried. This is something else. This is a tiny nitpick, and it's not just toward this game. It's for any game that doesn't do it. We're in 2019. Of the myriad things that I'm getting really fucking tired of seeing in games, I'm tired of seeing I'm tired of not seeing game timers. That's really bugging me. Resident Evil 2 had a pretty malicious one. I mean, if you paused Resident Evil 2 Remake, it paused your timer as well. So if you had some instance where you had to pause the game and set the controller down and didn't come back for 5 hours, it paused your time. So I really appreciated Devil May Cry, Resident Evil 2 Remake's timing system. It's fairly accurate for what my gameplay is. It takes time accurately of me being in the game, physically playing the game. So good. Devil May Cry 5, can't find a timer anywhere. So it's loose guess how long it took me. I wasn't timing it. I don't typically time it like that. I look for timers to do that work for me. Go ahead.
I got my time because I streamed it all, so I just looked at how long I streamed.
Solid. Yeah, if there's a game that I'm really intensely focused on, like God of War, Persona, something like that, and if that game doesn't have a timer, I'll try my best to take some notes on it. But I kind of knew going in, with it being a Devil May Cry game, I undershot the amount of levels. I figured it'd be about 10-15 levels. It turns out to be about like 24-25 missions. So yeah, I undershot how many levels it was going to be, but I was planning on 15-20 hours, and that was an overestimate. So I feel like somewhere around there is what it was for me. But I mean, I wasn't trying to barrel my way through the game, and I wasn't trying to do everything. I did a few of the side missions, the ones where you have to look at a specific area and yada yada yada. But I just really went through the game trying to have fun. So before we get into the obvious best part of this game, which is the gameplay itself, story. So it's interesting. It's gonna be interesting to hear how your feelings are on the story, especially freshly going through all the games and getting the story. So for me, right off the bat, man, I know this is like a tried and true thing for me, and I really need to get over this, but I feel like I'm never going to. When I heard what I could swat out of my vision and hearing about there's another character in this game, I was like, I don't want to know. I already knew the character's name was V because people just can't control themselves, and they had to keep saying it. And I overheard eventually that, yeah, there's a new character in here. His name is V. When that was there, Chris, I knew nothing else. I didn't want to know anything else. I went on my way to avoid everything. So when this new character came in, what a small roller coaster of emotions for V for me. When this motherfucker strolled out with his emo fucking haircut and all of his tattoos and his gothic fucking clothes, reading poetry with a fucking what looked like what I thought was a fucking raven flying around him, I was like, man, you guys are leaning into this now? Come on. You have Dante, who is a badass wisecrack character. You have Nero, who has a fucking almost like an attitude problem, but he's also badass. And you have fucking dark-haired emo guy. Oh, I was already getting put off by this guy. Already getting put off by this try-hard emo guy. Missions go on. Playing as Nero, and they're like, all right, well, now you get to play as V, and I'm like, all right, fine, I'm gonna give it a shot. I can't see myself going away from this game because of this guy. If I don't like this guy, I will fucking A through his fights and get through this shit and get back to Nero and hopefully get to Dante soon. And then I played as V and had a fucking good time.
Oh, yeah.
Playing as V. How fucking cool is that shit to play as a summoner
It's
in
so
this
different.
game? Yeah. I've played summoners, but that's playing a summoner in Final Fantasy XIV.
Sure.
This is that, but in an action style game. You sit the fuck back and you sick your familiars on your enemy. They do the work. You do, as V, go in and do the coup de grace, but yeah, they're doing their thing. They're out there doing all the work for you, and that turned out to be a lot more fun than I thought it was. On top of, as you progress with these characters, like all Devil May Cry, the more orbs you put in them, the more abilities you unlock,
Right.
the more combo additions you unlock, the more battle tactics you unlock. So yeah, it's I was very surprised. I'm on both sides of the fence with V, Chris. I'm not gonna lie. I wasn't really digging his appeal, but his combat was on point. I mean, the first time that I summoned Nightmare and that motherfucker like crashed through a building and the debris from the building still hit enemies along with him hitting them, that was badass.
Yeah.
And when I summoned Nightmare again in another level and he just fucking belly flop dropped from the sky onto the battlefield, killed like 4 of the 9 enemies I was fighting. I was like, fuck yeah, man. So, yeah.
Yeah, he was. I had kind of the same initial reaction, but mine was much shorter. At first, I was like, "Okay, who is this?" And then did the poetry thing, and I was like, "Okay, I'm kind of feeling the vibe he's putting out. Okay, let's see where it goes." And yeah, as the game progressed, I just liked him more and more. By the end of it, Nero was my least favorite character out of the ones you control.
Wow.
He just didn't feel good for me in this game. I don't like the new system they did for him. I don't like the arm thing.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan either.
I didn't use it. I did not use it except for like the healing one a couple of times. Other than that,
Yep.
I would just basically ignore it.
Yep. I will always be a fan of the Snatch. The Snatch is good. The Snatch is fun, and it's very versatile. I mean, it's always been, even in 4, but especially in this game, I used it a lot. But yeah, when it came to to the degree, Chris, that I will say that I even really didn't understand it. Aside from I can press this button and detonate it, and the detonation will have an effect. But my God, toward the end of the game, I had like 15 or 20 different ones that I could have used. I had them all on my stock because I never used them.
Yeah.
I used Snatch all the time. I didn't really detonate any of them, so whatever.
Yeah, I basically all I did was I went in the equip menu and did whatever was recommended, and typically like left one slot blank, so I could pick up something if I saw it and wanted it. But not being able to switch between them while you're playing, that's another thing. It's like, okay, well, yeah, I would carry a couple of this one and then some of the healing ones, and I just switch to the healing ones when I need it. No, you can't. You have to blow up the one you're using to get to the next one. It's like, okay, that's not a good system.
Yeah. A little bit back to V. One of the moments that made me put my controller down and even get my wife's attention, and I just had folded my arms and was smiling and shaking my head at the screen. So all the characters have taunts, all of them, and they have different taunts. I want to say there's about 5 or 6 for each character, and there are different taunts depending on what you're doing. If Nero jumps up in the air and you do a taunt, he like surfs on his blade for a second and says something and comes down. Taunting helps to add towards your style meter, so taunting now and again is actually highly encouraged in this game.
Never used it.
So I'm playing as V. This is like his 6th, 7th, 8th mission that I played as him. I was in some area, some sewer area, whatever. I killed a bunch of enemies. I was killing a group of enemies, and I was like, oh yeah, taunt. I want to start seeing his. So I'd do 3, 4, 5 moves, do a taunt, squeeze a taunt in here and there, and added my style meter up, kept going. And I think most of the time I remember him just saying a few lines of poetry or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like he would say something and it would be the taunt. I kill all the enemies. I press the taunt button. The music stops. The music changes to the Flight of the Valkyries. And V is waving his hands around like dun 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 dun. I was like, "What the fuck is this?" And I look back at my wife. I'm like, his taunt is the entire Flight of the Valkyries song, and he's just fucking waving his arms around and bopping his head into the Flight of the Valkyries was playing. That was kind of a clappy moment for V. Aside from Nightmare, again, when you summon Nightmare at any given point in that game, he will have a different entrance. Like, depending on what set piece you're in when you're fighting who knows what enemies, he can come in a different way. I've seen him come in and just smoke an enemy. I've seen him coming through buildings. I've seen him fall from the sky. Summoning Nightmare was pretty cool. I think of the 3 of those, I use the bird the least. Because, I don't know, it's kind of like using the gun. And again, like you said, Chris, man, the guns they get so underplayed. It's such a shame.
It was really, I mean, there was a whole strategy thing to where you summon them initially and then moving around with them to get them to attack like you wanted to. It was one of those things where you almost wanted to let them disappear at times so you could resummon them in a more advantageous position.
Yep.
But yeah, and how about him having the ability to just charge up his meter anytime?
Oh man,
that was sure it's risky, but that's insane.
Yes. Yeah. I'm sure there are many folks out there that can overpower this guy. He has the ability to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the controlling of the familiars as well. The only downside that I could find was, okay, so if I'm playing as Nero or as Dante, if I walk up to some orbs that I have to like smash through them to collect them, it's easy. I walk up to them, I press my sword button, they slash through the orbs, and I get them. Didn't always seem to work with V. I'd walk up to them and I had to face them properly, and then I'd throw the cat familiar out and he would miss it or go around it. And then I would back up and try to line it up a little better and still wouldn't do it. So I back up and then I just send the bird. The bird would shoot, attacks at it and finally get it. Attacking inanimate objects as V, for me, for whatever reason, seemed a little bit more difficult. Considerably more difficult than with Nero or Dante.
Yeah, the trick to that is to lock on, get pretty close, and then summon them at the same time, and they'll kill it immediately.
Yeah. But other than that, again, he already had a lot going against him in my favor because it was something new and I'm just not down for it, yada, yada, yada. And then when I saw him as a person, I was like, oh, man, this guy. Like, what is this, fucking 2000 again? And we're playing to the emos now?
Mm-hmm.
But then I played as him and he was pretty badass.
Yeah.
Nero? Nondescript, man. I've liked him as much as I've liked him in 4. Again, I really like the snatch ability. It really adds to the combos when I can slap the shit out of something and then grab them and pull them back to me. No, I'm not done with you, and keep going. So, yeah, down for that. But he has, I mean, I'm always indifferent to Nero. I feel bad for saying that because I know there's a lot of Nero fans out there, but, and again, in comparison to Dante, who I will always put as the face of this entire franchise. Oh, yeah, he's good. He does his job. He collects his paycheck, no doubt. Dante, oh man. All 4 fucking abilities right from the get-go. All 4 stances. It's just reminiscent from Devil May Cry 3 all over again. Collecting weapons as you go. Yeah, man. Just the powerhouse of the combat for me. Again, I know there are those out there that are going to, but probably right now, who are just maxing out damage scores and style combos with V. But I got the most when I slid into Dante's controls. The game just got super easy for me.
Yeah. On the topic of his weapons, did you use the other ones? I ended up actually taking them out of my loadout to where I only had the sword, and then I only had like the handgun, shotgun, and rocket launcher.
Yeah, okay, so for the weapons, for the ranged weapons, mainly the pistol, and I mean, even then it was situational. You know, I would throw some bullets into comp. This I really feel like we should focus on that again for just a bit, Chris. Okay. One of the things that people remember fondly, even if you didn't play the damn game, you should have heard about it or seen gameplay or a trailer or something, was Dante taking this big ass sword and doing a backwards swipe forward up motion to where it launches the enemy in the air, and then when the enemy is in the air, he pulls out his two pistols, bang, 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 just infinitely juggling you in the air. Yes, the damage was minimal, but the idea was to use that as combos or follow through, and plus it was just fucking cool. Mm-hmm. But in Devil May Cry's after that, it just, you would have to just wail on a fucking enemy and pump so many bullets in for them to do the damage you really need to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, mainly Ebony and Ivory for me, but even then I didn't really use ranged weapons that much. The melee weapons though, as I got them, I spent pretty much the entire next level using them as they went on, with one exception. But that also segues into a love-hate thing about Devil May Cry 5. You fight Cerberus again. Mm-hmm. You fight damn near the same fight, with the exception being this time now he's not on his leash anymore. I think in Devil May Cry 3 he was on the chains in the beginning. Yeah, this one he comes out like, nah, man, I'm bigger, I'm better. And I was like, okay, this is a good callback fight. This is awesome. But yeah, I've kind of already been here, so I'm just going to get this fight over with and move on to the next one. You kill Cerberus, you get the fucking Cerberus nunchucks again. And I was like, I'm so happy to have this weapon back because it's so cool, man. That fucking backwards triple fucking roundhouse slam on the ground is so great, but I've already done this before. Mm-hmm. You know, I liked it. I was so down for I was so torn, man. I was down for the callback. Yeah, that too. And yeah, I feel like that's also jumping a bit ahead because there's another weapon that bears discussion, and I wish I had more experience with it to tell you about it, but when they threw that fucking hat to him and that red scarf went around his neck and he started doing Michael fucking Jackson moves, I slowly looked back to my wife, and she's looking at the screen going, is he doing what I think he's doing? I was like, Capcom, you crazy motherfuckers. So there's a hat you get. It's damn near like a cowboy hat, and it itself is a melee weapon that it can be used as a ranged weapon. It's that is style incarnate. That's all that thing is used for. And yeah, he fucking has Michael Jackson style moves, which I don't know how the fuck they got past copyright with that. Chris, it's blatant. I mean, it's blatantly fucking straight up Michael Jackson Thriller music and moves. But as cool as that's going for, as that was, and as obviously style focused as that weapon seems to be geared towards, I didn't use it almost at all.
I didn't at all.
Because it costs red orbs to use. And that was a no-go for me. I was trying my best to pretty much grind as much as I could because I wanted to get more combos. I wanted to get more versatility with all my characters. And I mean, I was going through stretches where I would down 2 or 3 levels and just save all the orbs and then go, all right, I'm going to spend some now. And I would just upgrade. So when you give me a weapon roughly 2/3 through the game, and you tell me, oh, by the way, using this, the majority of the use of this weapon is going to require you to spend your red orbs, I was like, no, thank you.
Yeah. And then as soon as you upgrade, you switch to another character.
Yep. Yeah.
Like, oh, great.
So maybe sometime in my future when I do another playthrough, I actually didn't look. Is there a new game plus?
I'd imagine so.
Honestly did not look. I beat the game and turned the console off. Shame on me. I should have looked into that. But if there is a new game plus, I'm sometime in the future down for going through this game 2, 3, 4 times and just getting a fuck ton of red orbs. And once I have unlocked everything I want to unlock, and I can just spin those willy-nilly, then yes, I would love to see what all this fucking weapon has to offer. Because, yeah. And yeah, man, it's just, again, that's really the best way I can put it. Once I got to play as Dante, the fucking game just went into. I was just back at home. I kept switching between Swordmaster and Trickster a lot. I even went in Devil May Cry 3. I rarely used Guard and the other the shooting one. Yeah.
Speaking of switching, did you use the auto thing?
What auto thing?
If you hold, it's like the R1, I think it enables a auto mode, and it'll actually switch you between weapons and between Swordmaster and Trickster.
Wasn't that like an option at the beginning of the game? I picked no. I wanted to manually swap.
And you can switch it any time. So that's one of the reasons I took the other weapons on my loadout, because it would switch me from my sword to the stupid melee things, and I liked it because I wanted it to. I wish there was a half mode. I liked it switching between Swordmaster and Trickster because it would, switch to Trickster to get me in range again if I pressed the, up triangle or whatever it is to move towards them. And then it would immediately switch back as I'm swinging to do damage to Swordmaster. So I got, that extra combo stuff. It basically is to help you keep your combo. And I really liked that, except for the switching the weapons I don't want to use.
Yeah. And again, I just want to put this out there. I went through that game and I beat it. I have not mastered it. I didn't even know that you could get above S's. Apparently you can get double S's and triple S's. I never got any of those. I think I may have gotten a double accidentally, but yeah, you can, just like all the Devil May Cries, mainly 3 and 4 and DMC, you can link combos to your heart's content, and the more you do, the more style meter you get, the better off you are. I did enough to get through that game. I didn't master it. In the future, maybe I will, and I would love to go through that game again and give all of the weapons like a good solid run through just to see how versatile they are. But yeah, this was just fucking do what I do, the minimal maximum impact, minimal effort. So I said we were going to start with story, and I fucking tangent it off on all the characters. But yeah, so the story itself was it kept me going along. The new character, the Nico. Oh, what was her name? The girl in the interesting. She fits in there. She is not a lady. She's not a Trish. She has her own unique thing. I like the that was my grandmother that made those weapons. I like that. That I finally figured out. They finally divulged how she plays a part in this. Uh, setting up what was, so we know who the main antagonist turned out to be. What was his name that they called him initially?
I don't remember.
I forget. Yeah, well, that character. Okay, so as an antagonist, having this towering enemy that just sits in a throne and just slaps your ass around, I like that. I like just the pose of him, like sitting there with his hand on his fist, like so disinterested. And then when they came to attack him, it was just you can't even get past my wall. My wall is taking you down, much less me. And having that progression of having the characters get more powerful and coming back into his house, and him having to actually get up off his ass and do some shit. All that was done fairly well. The reveals, like revealing that when they all fought in there originally, that Dante got away, but Lady and Trish got pretty much transformed into these monsters. That was pretty interesting. A nice way to do things like that. Some questions that you had in this game early on got answered. You know, like, okay, well, who the fuck is V? Like, what are you? And they slowly got around to it. That so Virgil split himself in twain, separating the devil from the human, and the human was V. So all of his, walking around with a cane and his deteriorating health, all that makes sense. He doesn't have the power of the devil there anymore. So, okay, that was pretty interesting. That answered that question. Then it got revealed that Nero, so we've wondered for a while who the fuck Nero is. There's been a big rumor that he was Dante's son. I mean, they really fucking elbow that in Devil May Cry 4. He never says it. He never says, "You're my son." But he's lots of broad fucking hints that, hey, you're in our bloodline.
Yeah.
You have... Go ahead.
There's a point in 4 where Dante even says something like, it belongs in the family. And then a few minutes later says, keep it. You're like, oh, okay, so now we're establishing there's some sort of family thing going on here.
Yep.
But they never go into it in 4.
And the internet has ran with that for years. This is this is obviously Dante's son. I mean, look at him. Look at how he acts. Look at everything else. Yada, yada, yada. Well, finally gets revealed who the fuck he is in Devil May Cry 5. You find out that he is somebody's son. He's Virgil's son. And I love that little banter back and forth where he's like, yeah, I guess, you were young once too, right? And I was like, wow, just calling your brother out like, yeah, you fucked somebody and got her pregnant, didn't you, you little shit? Enjoyed their back and forth throughout this game because it's always been there. When those two get together, they're always fighting for some reason. So another question is still there for me. Why are they always fighting? Is it just because of the narrative that's been brought about in Devil May Cry 4 and DMC? Like, are they just always fighting because they just don't like each other? Is there some predestined reason why they're always clashing against each other? It's important to know why. I'd like to know, because when the shit hits the fan and they have to come together to kill somebody else, they fucking do it. So it's almost like it's just petty civil rivalry. The bigger question now that did not get answered, the question that wasn't there, well, I guess it was there beforehand. When Dante came on this, when Nero came onto the scene in Devil May Cry 4, the obvious question is, well, who the fuck is your father? Since Dante keeps hinting at it, but there's the other question, well, who the fuck is your mother? So Devil May Cry 5 answered one of those. We know, if everybody's to be believed, that Virgil is Nero's father. But who is the mom? That is a burning question for me right now. But it doesn't get answered, and I don't know if it will ever get answered in this game. Maybe in some DLC, maybe not. Maybe they're going to hold that out for Devil May Cry 6, which is going to come sometime. Because while this story did get wrapped up, there's still more questions out there.
Yeah.
So
And there's always something else they can do anyway. Even, like you said, the story gets wrapped up. It's kind of been that way in all the games, they're almost basically standalone games, especially with them
yeah,
being out of order like they are.
yep, yep. So yeah, I mean, if you're asking me for my opinion, revealing a brand new character in this game and then dismissing him, I'm not a big fan of. I already had to deal with, here's a new guy. What are you all about? I don't care
Yeah.
about you. Oh, actually, you're pretty awesome. You're gone. Goodbye. Not saying that he won't be back in a future one for whatever Deus Ex Machina reason, but as far as it stands now, yeah, he's goodbye, V. It was fun with you while it lasted.
I wonder if they did
Uh,
that because they weren't sure what kind of reception he would get.
Yeah, could be. It could be. I tell you, they did a pretty good job of keeping it under wraps, though, because I knew nothing about that until it started getting. It was very late in the cycle when I had that slightly spoiled too. So, yeah, good on you, Capcom. Again, yeah, I'd recommend it, man. It was a fun game. It was entertaining. I came home to it every afternoon. It took me about a week and a half of afternoons and a weekend or two of playing it. I didn't have a strong drive to just barrel back into it, only because, again, of all these games so far, Devil May Cry 3 has the biggest chunk of my heart, and I really feel if I want to play one, I'd probably go play that one again. But for everything that Devil May Cry 5 brought to the table, yeah, it's good. It was good.
Oh, yeah.
I enjoyed it. Any other parting words for Devil May Cry 5, Chris? You think that's it?
No, that's it.
All right. So, on to the topic of this episode. A little bit behind on this one, but that's okay. It's totally fine. We're not on a time limit around here. We're gonna do the End of Time Cast Game of the Year for 1996. For those that want to catch up, if this happens to be your first episode, that's okay. You can go back. I had it pulled up. What a guy I am.
Episode 75.
Episode 75. Thank you. Yeah, you can go back to episode 75 at the End of Time podcast, and you'll hear our review of 1996. So what this has been a recurring, I guess you'd say, session or series for our podcast. We've been trying to go through every year of gaming and highlight. One episode will highlight what we consider to be either highlights of the year as far as the gaming world is concerned, consoles, magazines, news, companies, games primarily, and just highlight stuff that went on during that year. And then a few episodes after that, we will have our little small, nowhere near as grandiose as Giant Bomb or End of Time, Easy Allies like Hall of Greats, but we do our own little back and forth of what we deem is our combined End of Time cast, not individual, End of Time cast vote for Game of the Year for that year. The idea is going to be that as we progress through this podcast, we're going to be caught up, and then we will, as the years actually end out, we will have our own Game of the Year. So we're just doing a lot of catch up between then and now. If you don't hear a news event or a console or a game, especially a game, get nominated or talked about during the Game of the Year in review, it's either one, we don't feel it had a big enough impact, but the real reason is we probably didn't play it. It's just that simple. And that gets carried over into Game of the Year. So as we go through this episode today, you don't hear a game that you feel is your Game of the Year. It's nothing against it. It's either we don't feel it is or we haven't played it. So this will be a deliberation between Chris and I. I guess I should mention, if for those that didn't hear the last episode or two, Adam's going to be kind of out of pocket for who knows how many episodes. Again, unfortunately, just his schedule just is not letting him record as much as he wants to, and we only have a couple nights we can actually record, so you may hear him jump in every now and again, but until he gets into a situation where he can record pretty much on schedule on our recording nights, he's going to be out of pocket for a while. But that's okay. Me and Chris are here. We got this shit. So again, especially for this In a Time Cast Game of the Year episode, for those that aren't familiar with the actual format, so we've already had our year in review. We've already gone through that part, and we've talked about what we consider to be highlights of the year. And of course, this being a Game of the Year episode, we're going to be talking primarily and only about games. And what we're going to do is, it's going to be kind of short for this year, Chris. I don't know about you, man. But, we're gonna just put a game on a list anywhere, and it's not a physical list you guys and gals can see. It's something we're doing on our end. We're just gonna throw a game out there, and then we're going to look at nominees one by one, and we're just gonna decide whether we feel these nominees are better or worse than the game we've just talked about, where we think they fit. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And then we'll have our discussions throughout as we go. So, yeah, so I went through and tried to figure out how many we had, and I'll tell you, Chris, I've got 6 on here. So, yeah.
You didn't update the spreadsheet?
Well, I kind of got myself confused, and I thought I was keeping my personal top 3 to the side, but I just now remembered, as I was telling the audience how we do this, that we just have them there and we'll just duke it out. So I am going to, as fast as my internet will allow me, because much like streaming games, your internet may determine how you do that. So I'll put all mine here on our spreadsheet. And again, audience, you can't see them, but that's, it's fine. So yeah, we're going to throw out these games in no particular order. I guess I'll just start first, Chris. I'm just going to hover around and pick. All right. Jesus Christ. Mega Man 8. All right. So I do feel the Mega Man 8 is going on this list. I'm just going to put it down here in the middle somewhere. So I feel, and okay, I did not put Mega Man 8 on this list to be a contrarian. Let's go ahead and make that understood right off the bat, because I know full well this game gets so much hatred. It does, and honestly, I think it gets hatred because, honestly, I think it's solely just because of the voice acting. This game has some very meme-worthy voice acting, and that's gone. I mean, people have taken that to the nth degree. If I'm looking at Mega Man 8, this is another one of those incidents, just like V. I mean, I could draw a straight parallel. When I saw the art design and the game design of Mega Man 8, just from screenshots and video play back in the day, I was not feeling it. This is a newer, updated, almost, I want to say cartoonier, but that's not exactly correct. Just going from Mega Man 6 to this style of Mega Man, just so y'all know, I played Mega Man 8 first. I didn't play Mega Man 7 till way after. So I feel like if I would have played Mega Man 7 and then played Mega Man 8, I would have had that transition. But Mega Man 8 was my first of that style. I really feel that Mega Man 7 and Mega Man 8 kind of look the same. His jump animation kind of feels the same. And just the total design of those two games are very similar to each other. The music is a different style of music compared to what Mega Man's known for. And, I get it. If you stacked Mega Man 8 up against Mega Man 1 through 6, I get it. It's a departure. The voice acting is not that great. I get it. But it's always been charming to me. This has been one of those games that the voice acting is bad, but I never cared because I liked Mega Man's voice in this. I liked Wily's voice. I liked it. I'm not saying that to be a contrarian. I promise you I'm not. Because if I don't like voice acting, you will fucking know. I'm looking at you, Tales of Symphonia, where I turned your voice completely off. The charm of Mega Man 8 has never been lost to me. I'll make this real simple for you, audience. With the exception of Mega Man X8, only because I have not played that all the way through. If you want to know my top Mega Man games, they are in that order: Mega Man 4, Mega Man 8, Mega Man X4, just like that. All the four multiples are up my alley. Mega Man 8's always been charming to me for all the reasons. I mean, look, I'm that guy that when I made a big spiel about this in one of our episodes about how when you take a game from Japan and bring it over to America and they bring the voice acting over, for some reason they add way more words and enunciations and exclamations. Like America can't shut up when it dubs things over. I don't know why. They just can't. And yeah, I liked Mega Man's voice in this. I liked when he jumped, the sound effects he makes, and when he throws out his weapons, he says the weapons and all that stuff. For whatever reason, the charm of 8 has always been something I enjoyed. So the fact that it came out this year, I picked this as a nominee for Game of the Year. Do I feel it's going to make it? I don't know. Well, that's what our debating is for today. So yeah, Chris, you're up.
All right. So let's immediately crush that with let's go for something different. Twisted Metal 2.
Okay. So you picked it as a nominee, so let's hear it.
I mean, this is one of the classic PlayStation games back then. So many endings, all the vehicles, all the different the things that come with those, their abilities, special, things about them, the storytelling in the game, and it was just fun to play. Single player, multiplayer, whatever. Lots of time spent on that game.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely a nominee for Game of the Year, man. Definitely this is a console must if you really want to know my opinion on the matter. There are many Twisted Metals. I think 4 total came out for the PlayStation 1. I think 5 in black, and if there was a 5, I know Black was a PlayStation 2 title. And there have been other Twisted Metals around, but I've played all of them on PlayStation 1. I think my order was like 2 and then 3 and then 1 and 4. I had some crazy order. For whatever reason, I'll tell you, Chris, I honestly feel like it's mainly Calypso. Like, all these Twisted Metals pretty much have, as far as gameplay is concerned, I mean, they're all around about the same, just with different flavoring.
Right.
You're in vehicles. Excuse me. The vehicles have their own weapons, their own theme, so to speak. And you may have different vehicles with different weapons, true enough, but that's the idea. It's car combat.
Right.
But when I look at the way the story is delivered to us in Twisted Metal 1 and 4 and 3 and 4, that version of Calypso, the voiceover, the cell shaded / comic book look to it, just fits for me more than any of these other ones ever did. Yeah, definitely a fun game, fun single player, fun multiplayer. I can't tell you how many times I went through this game level after level over and over and over again. I beat every stage as every character 2 to 3 times, more than that for the characters that I really enjoyed. Like Grasshopper was one of my favorite picks because of her speed and her agility. But yeah, fun, just definitely fun. I as well would put it on this list. Now, would I put it above Mega Man 8?
I haven't played 8, so I would.
Yeah, that's fine. So Twisted Metal 2. All right, so I'm gonna have to get nitpicky with this. Honestly, right. I mean, it's going up against a prime picked Mega Man for me. So Twisted Metal 2 has, I want to say, 7 or 8 levels total. Mega Man 8 already has 8 levels, plus the 3 to 4 Wily levels. I was gonna throw out the underhook that, Mega Man 8 also sets itself apart because some of the levels have branching paths where you can go like up or down instead of just straight forward. However, Twisted Metal 2 has many stages that have extras. Like when you're in Paris, you can shoot down the Eiffel Tower. When you're in the New York stage, you can shoot down the Statue of Liberty. So it has little extras, little hidden things as well. You only can play as Mega Man, with multiple weapons, but you can play as multiple vehicles in Twisted Metal with each having their own individual weapon. There is multiplayer in Twisted Metal 2. There's no multiplayer in Mega Man 8.
Multiple endings.
Multiple endings. Man. And honestly, Chris, if I'm looking at these two and going, all right, well, which one did you play more? I feel like I've went through 8 multiple times, and I've also went through Twisted Metal 2 multiple times. If I had to play one right now, my God, our favorite go-to argument, isn't it? Our last ditch effort of what would I play right now? I'm gonna backdoor you this way, Chris. If I still have access to my other Mega Man games, then I will put Twisted Metal 2 over Mega Man 8. I'm okay with doing that. I cannot nor will I deny the fun and the charm that I've had with Twisted Metal 2. I mean, I still sell Twisted Metal 2 to people today. I will go show them, hey, did you ever hear about Twisted Metal 2 and like all the different endings? Like, you have this guy that he's basically the devil and you want to play the tournament and win because you get your wish, but be careful what you wish for. There's lots of cool endings. Here, let me show you some of these endings. And yeah, I don't really do stuff like that with Mega Man 8. I feel like anytime I talk to anybody about Mega Man 8 that knows Mega Man games, I have to like defend Mega Man 8, So I just want it understood, this is not hands down. No, I've had lots of fun with both of these, but yeah, I can totally understand, especially with the multiplayer aspect being there. I would put Twisted Metal 2 slightly above Mega Man 8. Alright, next one. I'm just gonna fucking do. Wait, let me get rid of that one since that's on the list. Bam, what am I on? Twisted Metal 2 is also on the list.
Oh, we got the consolidated list right next to it.
Okay. Yeah, you got it. Alright.
I do all this work, audience, and he just bypasses it completely.
Resident Evil. I mean, if I could have my choice, I'd really just rather them come off the consolidated list instead of being highlighted. That way I can't pick them again. But it doesn't matter. I'll just go to something else. All right, let's do this. Resident Evil. All right. Kind of funny that, or a fun fact, the ever listener of the End of Time cast will know this already, but Resident Evil 1 and Twisted Metal 2 were 2 of the first PlayStation games I ever played. Now, I say that loosely. I did play Battle Arena Toshinden at Andy's house a little bit. Didn't know what the fuck I was doing, though. So, I had played a couple other random PlayStation games, but these games, as in I had a PlayStation in my home and was actively playing it, and this was definitely one of them. I feel not only as a franchise starter, but this game has weight to it. I will admit that yes, in a vacuum, this game has not aged well at all. No, sorry, outside of a vacuum. It has old archaic tank controls. If you really want to be that nitpicky, yes, it also suffers from bad voice acting, poorly written lines, period. Uh, what few movie cutscenes in it were very cheaply done. I mean, this game was made, from what I understand, from the company as it was back in the day, Capcom, made on a pretty shoestring budget. I didn't realize that because the game was just so much fun to me. I honestly didn't care. But yes, I can understand. Looking at it now, it's kind of cheapish. All that aside, though, as far as starting the franchise off and having facets for what the future titles did and should have been known for, oh yeah. You know, you've got puzzle solving, you have you have to go around and collect items and go find where the items belong to. You have, of course, you have the combat. You know, you're shooting zombies, you're trying to get away. You have depending on what difficulty you play as, you have slightly limited resources to manage. Fixed camera angles, which, again, that's an archaic thing. I get it, but it added to the horror of it, so to speak. It added to the intensity, because you could dodge one enemy and then go around a corner and there's one right there in front of you. Instead of running forward, maybe you should have took your time, but you didn't know that because you couldn't see it. The story, honestly, the story was pretty good. I mean, I'll give the story credit where it's due. You know, having the turn where, yeah, Barry was actually working against you the whole time, but his hand was forced. Yeah, I get that. The fact of Umbrella being this corporation that had, this secret lab underneath this mansion, like, all that, okay, good. Yeah, definitely for this year, 1996, I feel like Resident Evil belongs somewhere on this list.
Yeah, looking at it even back then, the tank controls are what killed Resident Evil for me. I played it some. I never beat it, but the controls were just a huge hurdle that just was frustrating. I enjoyed what I played of it, but the controls just killed it for me.
So, when did you play this game? Did you play it around the time of release? Did you play
when
it
it was new.
Okay. Yeah, I get it, and that would be it's hard for you to say where you would put it. Well, it's hard for you to say what you think of it today, because again, if you didn't like tank controls back then, you're definitely not gonna like it now. As far as where I would put it, I mean, this will make it easier for you, Chris. I'd put it below Mega Man 8. I do enjoy it. I do like it. I have played through Resident Evil 1 multiple times on multiple... I've done everything you could do in Resident Evil. But I would most definitely put Resident Evil 2 over Resident Evil 1. And also, if you put these two in front of me right now, I'm playing Mega Man 8. Hands down. And same thing with Twisted Metal 2. So, just for it to at least get nominated, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
So,
works for me.
Yep. So down here you go, Resident Evil, below Mega Man 8. All right. What's next?
All right. Let's see. Sure. Mario Kart 64.
Oh boy.
The behemoth.
What a fun game.
Yeah, this Mario Kart 64 was my first Mario Kart. I didn't play the older one until much later, and not much of it anyway, because why would I when I had 64?
Right.
I mean, everybody knows Mario Kart. Racing, weapons, pissing off your friends, so much fun.
Yep.
For me, this is probably going to the top of the list. As much as I enjoy Twisted Metal 2, Mario Kart just has that everlasting appeal to it. You can play it forever.
Yeah, and what a change from the Super Nintendo Mario Kart. You know, I mean, gone is the idea of the more coins you pick up, the faster you go. You know, the visuals look different. I mean, of course, it's on the 64.
Yeah.
But man, I don't know if it's just because I was in my mid to early teens, if it was because I mainly played this game when I visited my grandmother and had her neighbors come over, and it was like finally a group play experience. But it was Star Fox, GoldenEye, and that was our multiplayer function for a long time. And I mean, yeah, you can race against each other on the actual racing levels, but there were battle levels where, you know, you had to shoot each other with whatever. Everybody had 3 balloons, and you had to get rid of those 3 balloons however you could. And there were only 4 stages, if I remember right. Only 4.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, and countless hours, man, countless months of playing this one game and those 4 levels. That says a lot. Now, there have been a lot of Mario Karts down the road. Yeah. I have played Mario Kart Double Dash a little bit less than, but pretty close to equal amount of time. And the rest, just because I didn't have the console or the game, the rest kind of fell off. But Mario Kart 64, oh man, good game and lots of fond memories. I have no problem admitting that a lot of my a lot of me putting this game on this list was nostalgia alone. It just has a place in my heart and memories, man.
Yeah.
As far as where I would put it, all right. So yeah, above Resident Evil. That's a toughie. It's really a toughie. Would I put it above Mega Man 8? You know what? As the pure... So Mega Man 8 offered a lot of the standard Mega Man fun for me. And that's a pretty high, unmovable bar for me. But as far as like pure joy and the getting up out of my seat moments and having friends over and shouting at each other and all that stuff, that level of fun multiplied over many, many playthroughs, yeah, I would say Mario Kart 64 edges out over Mega Man 8. Now, Mario Kart 64 versus Twisted Metal. I'm going to let you shoot from the hip first on this one, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, I would totally put it above Twisted Metal just because I feel like as much as replayability that Twisted Metal 2 had with all the endings, you know, the multiplayer, comparing multiplayer to multiplayer, Mario Kart 64 probably would take it for me. Just in it was... I don't know. It was more fun to repeat. Twisted Metal 2 multiplayer, fun for a bit, and then you move on. In comparison.
Yeah. Yeah, I've played a good bit of Twisted Metal 2 multiplayer. But I would I would wake somebody up at night to play Mario Kart 64 multiplayer. I mean, I would rent that console and get that game just to make that happen. That kind of dedication, that kind of fun, and that amount of memories. I mean, all around, I think deservedly Mario Kart 64 can go above Twisted Metal 2. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to go outside of my norm, and I'm going to pick one that I did not nominate. I don't have a coin to flip, so I'm just going to pick one. Let's go Pokemon Red and Blue.
All right.
So Pokemon Red and Blue, I did not nominate this, I have played through Pokemon Blue, and then later I played through Pokemon Yellow, and that's pretty much where my Pokemon life stopped, except for Pokemon Stadium and Pokemon Snap, and recently Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. That's about it for my Pokemon knowledge. To tell you the truth, I mean, okay, the impact of Pokemon is not lost on me at all. Yeah. If we're talking Game of the Year or a year in review, should Pokemon be nominated or be brought up? Well, of course. This was the beginnings. This was the beginning, if I'm not mistaken, because I think Pokemon Yellow came later, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, Red and Blue they were the first.
Yep.
OG Pokemon. It all started right here.
The very beginning.
Yeah. For that, yes. Now, I'm going to make enemies, and that's fine. I get it. I'm an asshole. While I did play through Pokemon Blue, and while I did play through Pokemon Yellow, I didn't play anymore after that. I think in Yellow, as much as I possibly can, I got every Pokemon. I think Yellow, I tried to max out everything and do everything I could. I tried to get every Pokemon and beat every gym and just do everything I possibly could. Aside, and forgive me, I don't remember if Yellow had Pokemon as well that you had to like link cable and swap between people like Red and Blue did. If it did, I didn't do any of that. Blue, I went through and also didn't trade Pokemon because I just didn't have anybody around me I could trade Pokemon with. So whatever Pokemon were available in Blue, that's all I got. I'm saying all this because even with a game that I made sure to try to go through and do everything possible, once I made it through Pokemon Yellow and caught them all that I could catch and beat the story, that was pretty much it. I mean, I dropped it, not out of hatred. I was just like, all right, I'm done. And I moved on with life entirety. I did not come back to any of these games ever again. They did not, the charm of these did not bowl me over and never have to the likes of, Mario or Zelda or any other franchise like that. So I agree that Pokemon Red and Blue are great to the franchise. To me, they were just playthroughs. So it's your show, Chris.
I played Blue and Yellow as well, but Blue in particular, talking about here, I played the first two Pokemon games, and I don't remember how much I played Yellow in comparison, but I know I played a lot of Blue. I think Yellow I played more once the Game Boy Color came out, because it was compatible with it more, had more options or whatever it was. But I played the Pokemon games until the new Game Boys didn't support them. Whatever the smaller Game Boy was, not the Pocket, but the one after that, because I didn't have a Pocket. Until it stopped being compatible, I played the game because it was fun to, I beat it a long, I say a long time, very short into, having the game. It was the collecting, the just running around, leveling, doing all that really gave it the life. And yeah, just expanded on there, and now we have the behemoth. We have the day with Pokemon. Where I'd put it on the list, I'm not actually sure. Because I would put it above Resident Evil for me personally. And Mega Man 8 I didn't play, so that's kind of tough. But obviously I would put it above it. But I'm not entirely sure where I would put it on the list as a whole.
It's gonna be tough, man, because I didn't nominate it, and you did, and I wouldn't even put it. I wouldn't even put it above. That's tough to say, man. Like I said, I only played through Blue one time. I have played through Resident Evil 1 if I had to guess, somewhere in the neighborhood of 9 or 10 times. So obviously that game had way more appeal to me, and of course, I mean, Mega Man, Twisted Metal, Mario Kart, yeah. If I had to vote because of just my experience and where I would put it below Resident Evil. I don't mind it being on the list of nominees, but at the bottom is where I feel it belongs for now.
I'll allow it.
Okay, well, you've heard it here, folks. Pokemon is a garbage game. On that note, you're up.
All right. So I'll follow suit and pick a game that I didn't nominate. Super Mario RPG.
All right. Yes.
The only experience I have with Super Mario RPG, and I believe it's on the classic, so I can play it now. But my only experience with it was back in middle school. I managed to get it from somewhere, emulator and ROM, and put it on one of the school computers. And I would actually play it in my computer class. So I never made a lot of progress because, I had a little bit of time with it. But that was the only interaction I had with the game. So I never beat it. I don't remember anything about this one because that was, forever ago. So yeah, I don't really know.
Well, I definitely have experience with this game. I've been through the entirety of Mario RPG, which, I mean, we're talking full classic 90s era RPGs, so, 50, 60, 80, whatever hours. Let's hit the nostalgic point right off the bat. This is also another one from my early to mid-teenage years, visiting my grandmother. I guess I just had not... Okay, again, I didn't have many magazine subscriptions. I mean, the internet wasn't thriving back then. So game news wasn't really a thing in my life. My gaming news was word of mouth. Having friends or schoolmates, classmates talk about new games that they heard were coming out, or mainly that they were playing. I mean, even word around the block news it just didn't impact me. It wasn't in my life. So I remember being, visiting my grandmother one summer or one Easter or she just came and got me, who knows, and going to one of the 2 video game rental places I went to and seeing Mario RPG on the shelf, and just the 3D artwork on the box alone was like, well, this is new. And then turning it over and seeing that, or wherever I figured it out, that this is Squaresoft and Nintendo coming together, making an RPG. And I was like, all right, Mario in an RPG, yeah, sure, I guess it could work somehow. I don't recognize many of these characters, but yeah, sure, I'll try it. And then that was it. Like, done. Took that thing home. And from the opening intro little movie clip to this game, was already hooked. This is how you do companies merging. This is what... I mean, Kingdom Hearts has just veered off the fucking path of this right here. This is a RPG toned down, like not the Grandoise style of Final Fantasy, and not the super convoluted story of Xenogears, but a genuine RPG with plot development and character development and curiosity and intrigue and big bad villains and fleshed out side characters and all that RPG goodness, just toned down, not in a difficulty way, not in a maturity way, but more of just we're trying to narrow in on the charm way. And they nailed it, in my opinion. It's that RPG with Mario themes mixed in, properly mixed in. They fit in they fit into the narrative of Mario while having all these other new characters involved with him. The side the new characters you get into your party, they're explained. They have their own interesting story and narrative. The classic characters from the Mario franchise are here. They have their reasons explained for what's going on. You know, like Bowser's a good example. He gets kicked out of his own fucking castle thanks to all this shit. And you are slowly, progressively working your way to get back into the castle and figure out what's really going on. Geno, brand new character. I love how they brought him in. I love his development. I love his play. He has a solid place in the story. Mallow, same way. The extra characters you run into, the NPCs you run into throughout the game, all charming, all fit, all have a reason, all have a story. A good example is Booster. He has his own little tower. He's just this eccentric guy that just has his tower full of toys and stuff, and it's just, it all fits, man. And if you really want to go above and beyond, there's a secret boss in there that's straight out of a Final Fantasy themed game. Culex is his name. And that's all of that. Now we get to talk about the music of the game. All themed, all catchy, all memorable. All of it. All the music was on point. All the sound effects, mixing between new sound effects for new characters and old classic sound effects that you already know, like Mario's jumping and fireballs being thrown out, all that stuff, all there. The battle system this game brought in, I do not know if, or I don't remember. I think somebody already did analysis on this and I just forgot, but I don't know if Mario RPG was the first, but for me, it was the first game of having battle actions in the combat. For example, Mario, when you use his jump attack, he would have a menu style like all the classic RPGs where you had to select attack or spell or item or whatever. So you could select attack, you could select his jump ability, and then he would jump in the air. And right when he would land on an enemy, if you press your A button at the right time, he would jump back up in the air. And when he lands, you can do it again and again and again. That mentality is for every character's moves all around the horn. Every character's moves has some type of, if you manipulate the controls or do what we tell you to, then you can do more damage. You can also evade enemies' attacks or take less damage from doing the same thing. They all level up like a standard RPG. You get more abilities over time. Your stats go up just like an RPG. A cool thing about this one, and other Mario RPGs have done stuff like this, just to varying degrees, but when you level up, you can basically pick an attribute that you can level up, so you can get more hit points, or your attack can go up, or your power can go up, or whatever. And that's been carried across throughout the series. Yeah, man, and the ending theme to this game is great. The story leading up to the ending is great. All the boss areas, I mean, all the towns and the locales you visit. This game is a fucking solid RPG. Mm-hmm. Well beyond what people thought it was going to be, and definitely well beyond what I thought it was going to be, because I didn't know the fucking thing existed. And it is held up extraordinarily well, even to this day. So I do recommend you play it, Chris, no matter what you play it on. Mm-hmm. I think you'll enjoy it, and especially being an RPG connoisseur as you are, I'm sure that this will be up your alley.
Yeah.
As far as where would I put it? Yeah, above Pokemon. Yes, above Resident Evil. Yes, above Mega Man 8. Yes, above Twisted Metal 2. Man. Oh, boy. I mean, my gut reaction to saying yes, this goes above Mario RPG. I have gotten more multiplayer and more total gameplay time out of Mario Kart 64, but I mean, we're talking about, especially like length of the game, there's so much to do and see and find in Mario RPG. On top of it being a standard, 50 to 80 hour RPG.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, okay, I got to. Mario RPG has to go above Mario Kart 64. It has to. It's not saying that Mario Kart 64 is bad at all. It's just, the RPG Golden Glove came out and just KO'd that shit.
And as the audience should know by now, it's an RPG. It's going to be high on the list.
Yep. So, and we've only got a few left, so just so the audience, so you don't have to keep a pen and pad out and write this shit down. So starting from the bottom, what we have so far, we have Pokemon Red and Blue, and then we have Resident Evil, Mega Man 8, Twisted Metal 2, Mario Kart 64, and currently the top on the list is Super Mario RPG. And Chris, you picked that one, right?
Yeah.
As far as, all right. Well, I'm going to do it the right way this time because I feel like we both have our sluggers here. I'm going to pick my nominee for Mario 64.
All right.
Man. I did know about Super Mario 64 ahead of time, but even so, knowing about it, seeing magazine articles, or if you were extremely lucky, getting one of those Nintendo 64 demo VHS tapes and seeing it is one thing.
What a thing to say.
Yeah. That is one thing to see this game in action. It's one thing to see it and see words written about it and see pictures of it in a magazine and have your mind trying to slowly wrap around true 3D movement. Yeah. And remember, I had a little bit of 3D knowledge because, of course, arcade games had tons of 3D fighters. Battle Arena Toshinden for the PlayStation also has 3D models and some 3D movements. So, yeah, this was not a new thing to me. But playing a platformer / adventure style game like Mario, taking Mario from the last one that I knew him in, like Super Mario World or Yoshi's Island, and going to a 3D controlled Mario.
Yeah.
It's one thing to see all that other shit. It's another to have that game in your hand and play it. A masterwork of a 3D platformer back over 2 decades ago. I mean, this is man, I got a little twinge. I got just a little twinge of the old when I heard myself say that. Not 1 decade, over 2 decades ago. Yes, this game came out 23 years ago. I'm always a sucker for platformers, period. I'm definitely a sucker for anything Nintendo, and of course I'm a sucker for Mario. So all this has a lot going in its favor. But still, at that age, that time in my life, wrapping my head around going from left to right only and up and down only to all 3D movement was so new to me. And I really want to focus on that for just this hot second because that's something that we take for granted today because it's fucking everywhere. 3D games are like, yeah, duh, what else would it be? Side scrollers? Yeah, there's a genre of that. Now, the side scrollers are the OG for most cases. But we evolved. We've now come to where so many games are a solid mix. You have a lot of 2D side scrollers and you have a lot of 3D platformers. It works that way. And again, in that time, this time of my life, just trying to wrap my head around having this one stick that can make Mario move. Like, how does this work? How does the jumping work? How do I save myself from falling? Is it, if I jump forward, am I relegated to that forward movement? Can I back up at all? What are these other movements? I can duck, I can backflip. Like, what is all this? I'm used to jumping up in the air and butt stomping at the most, And then you get that game. and you put that controller in your hands and you just go, and Nintendo's got you. I mean, the controls in this game are so tight, so awesome, still hold up so well to this day. It puts you at ease so fast. Everything feels intuitive. They give you little tips to teach you how to do all the other things like double jumping and triple jumping or triple flip jumping. I mean, even the water controls. You have air, so you have to go up for air, sure enough. But the water controls were fine. I mean, they weren't the best, but they were very doable for a 3D space. Sure. I think controlling the camera underwater was more the hassle than the actual swimming.
Yeah, the camera was the worst part in general.
Yeah, I mean, it had digital movement. You know, you didn't have free-flowing camera. And again, we've evolved. You know, we now have an entire stick dedicated to a camera today, where back then it was just digital, you know, swinging around. Yeah, it could put you in this small little hub world that still felt so big, just like Ocarina of Time, man. Nintendo had a way of doing that, of making things feel bigger than they really were. I mean, if you look at the courtyard of Mario 64, and then you get into the castle, and then you go underneath it, and you go into the clock, like down the stairs to the clock area, it can feel pretty big. In reality, not that big, especially when you get into a level, and the levels are fairly large and sprawling and expansive.
The open worldness of the levels too. You know,
right,
having all the different stars, and sure, you'd have often, you know, like one primary one you're going for, but then everything else unlocked after that. And you could choose how many of them you want to get in that level. You get tired of a level, as long as you got one or two, you probably unlock something else, and you just go play that. So much to do.
Lots of open-ended gameplay. The different hats you can get. I mean, you get one hat that turns into a Metal Mario, which means now you're pretty much invincible, and you can go underwater without having to swim. You're just walking across the floor slowly, but you're doing it. But you get one that lets you turn invisible, lets you phase through certain walls. And let's be real here, though. If there's one hat to talk about, it's the hat that blew everybody away, and that's the winged cap Mario.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you get this thing, you do enough jumps in the air, and you fly through the air as Mario. Again, 3D movement like you did not expect to have. 3D movement that felt good and natural and flowed. Flying for Mario is nothing new at this point. I mean, in Mario 3, you got a tail as a raccoon, and you could float around. You could fly up and then float down. In Super Mario World, you had a cape. You could fly up and you could bound and bounce. That same mentality is what went into the flying controls in Mario 64. You would soar down and you'd pull up on the stick and he would fly up into the air and he'd go, wahoo! I mean, it's... yeah. 120 stars, I believe, is the maximum. So that's 120 different tasks for you to do. Yes, some of them do repeat in practice, like finding all of the red coins. Yeah. Every level has a red coin area, but you still have to find the red coins. And I mean, they're different levels, so there's different places to explore to find them.
Yep, different mechanics.
And yeah, again, still holds up to this day, man. Solid game. Just the wow factor of going into 3D world. Them with the small caveat of the digital control. And when I say digital, I mean, like, let's imagine the camera's behind Mario, because it's third person, not first person. If the camera's behind Mario, you could push the C stick right or left, and it would rotate the camera around, like, we'll say like 45 degrees, and it rotate around again and again. That's how you control the camera. Now, a majority of the time, the game controlled the camera for you, and it was fairly good about putting it where you needed to be. I don't remember too many times where the camera was in a place that just fucked me over. I do remember times like that in Mario Sunshine, but not so much Mario 64.
Yeah, I think most of the time you move the camera around in 64, it'd be looking around for secrets and stuff like that.
Right. Which you wanted to do because, again, it's 120 stars to play with. So, yeah, there's a lot of exploring in all of these levels. So, yeah, Chris, man, come on. There's no doubt that Mario 64 goes on this list. Now, the question is, where do we put it? I'll tell you now right off the bat, Chris, we can put this somewhere in the middle immediately, no problem. Yeah, above Mega Man 8. Yeah, above Twisted Metal 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, above Mario Kart 64. Yeah.
Mario 64, Super Mario 64 is probably the most fun I've had playing a game, at least back then. I'd have to think about it further, but maybe ever. The most fun playing a single player game with friends.
Mm-hmm.
So just comparing it with Mario Kart, it's like a straight up comparison. That was one of the games we played. You mentioned your trifecta of Star Fox, Mario Kart, and GoldenEye. We had Mario Kart Perfect Dark and Super Mario 64.
And Jet Force Gemini. Oh.
Those were, our big three. So you had a game that wasn't even multiplayer that we would play together, just watching each other play, taking turns, because it was that good.
So. Right. Yeah. Yeah, the bigger question now comes to, honestly, where the real debate is for this list. Mario 64 above or below Mario RPG? Believe it or not, I'm going to put it above Mario 64. Because while this is the first grasping at a straw reason why I would say that. With Mario 64, there are 120 different things for you to accomplish. And while I guess if you lay the map out, there may be 70 or 80 things to accomplish in Mario RPG. Mm-hmm. And both of them have charm. Both of them have memorable music. Both of them have memorable level design. Mario 64 obviously took 3D to literally to a new level. It was actual 3D. It wasn't 2.5, 3D visuals. It was 3D visuals and movement. And while there is a lot to do in Mario RPG, and while all of that stuff, especially in an RPG sense, fits everything in the bill damn near flawlessly, I feel like I'd play Mario 64 right now. I really do. It's just it's hard to say, it's hard to explain, but I feel it edges out over Mario RPG. But again, as we've said before many times, you got to remember, folks, we're getting to the top of this list. We're on a list of picking our considerations for Game of the Year, period. Any one of these games are worth playing through, in our opinion. But if the End of Time cast has to come together and make a decision, what we feel is better than the other, this has to be done. So, yeah, I feel Mario 64 reigns out over Mario RPG, and that's all I can say. Don't ask me any more questions. I'm gonna feel attacked.
I agree. Despite how little I played of RPG, I think 64 just took it to a next level. And what a year is for Mario. Mario Kart 64, Super Mario RPG, and Super Mario 64.
All in the same year.
What is Nintendo thinking? Oh, Oh man. So next up is my final nominee, and that is Lunar Silver Star Story Complete.
Okay.
It is the remake slash remaster, remake slash remaster. It's a bit of both, of the 1992 slash 3, depending which region you're in. I believe we put it under 93 when we did that year in review and Game of the Year, which it won. The original Lunar Silver Star did. The guys were nice enough to let me have that one. So this is the remake remaster of it. As much as I crap on it, it is still the Lunar Silver Star game, and it still is a, good RPG. Sure, some mechanics changed, but maybe you like that. So Lunar has when you look back at it, it has a pretty simple story to it. There are, of course, some twists and turns along the way, but it's that, run of the mill kind of, get stronger, save the world. There's not a whole lot to it, but the characters themselves are very interesting, and they have their own development. They have their own subplots throughout the game, and it is a just overall solid RPG. The magic system was a bit different than some other RPGs. You had when you think of Final Fantasy and Magic, you typically had like your standard, fire, ice, etc. heal. Lunar shook it up a little bit with having, sure, some elemental type abilities, like the main character, Alex. He gets, the fire. He focuses on fire early on, and then he gets other stuff later on. But then you have a character who his spells are dice rolls. That's what he does, and they're not your traditional spells. So it took a, typical kind of formula and changed it up to fit this, gambler rogue, kind of guy. And it fit. The cutscenes to the game are good. The music, the intro music, is still one of my favorite game tracks ever. I'm trying to think if Silver Star Story Complete actually changed that up from the original Sega CD version. I don't think they did, because I think I would have been more annoyed about that. I believe you have played this, at least some.
Yeah, okay, I can't hold that back anymore. I was kind of saving that toward the end for my deliberation, but yes.
Okay.
I have played the entirety of Lunar Silver Star Story Complete one time.
Okay. Yeah. I played the original Lunar Silver Star, I don't know how many times. I have hundreds of hours in it, probably. The only game that comes close to it for me, as far as that goes, would be Final Fantasy VII. Silver Star Story Complete, I only played and beat it once in its entirety. Since I prefer the Sega CD version, I just played it to play, and I also played like the, Game Boy game they released after this. So, but yeah, still solid game and a respectable remake slash remaster. What do you think?
Yeah, not exactly easy here, I'm thinking. Because I know where the Lunar games sit for you. Mm-hmm. I really do. And I respect that as well. But, and I guess full disclosure, this is our last nominee period, so the audience can know that.
Yeah.
Starting from the bottom, I I'd say as far as an RPG-ish aspect of Pokemon, yeah, I'd put Lunar above it. Kind of hard to deny the behemoth that Pokemon is as a franchise, period. But
Yeah.
if we're directly comparing these two games, yeah, I can totally see where Lunar stacks above it. Resident Evil, two different games.
Yeah.
Two varying different games, different, but in scope and scale and what's available, I can see Lunar rising up. I could see that. Mega Man 8, again, two different games, completely different games. With the wealth available, I could understand. Look, I'll make this real simple, folks. This is going to come down to an RPG debate. I could see Lunar rising above Twisted Metal 2, and I could see an RPG rising above Mario Kart 64. I feel that's cause for more debate and more discussion, if you want my opinion. But the real meat of this debate is going to be RPG to RPG.
Sure.
And this is all me being very generous, by the way. I don't think I'd put it above. I don't think I would put Lunar above. I think it'd stop above Resident Evil, and that's being nice. It really is. But if I'm being nice, RPG to RPG, I would not put Lunar above this for the sole simple fact that I've played through Mario RPG 10 to 15 times in its entirety. I know I've 100% of that game twice. That's including getting the lazy shell, like everything.
Mm-hmm.
I played through Lunar Silver Star Story complete one time back probably around 97-ish, 98, and if you ask me anything about that game right now, I can tell you I remember one cutscene where she's singing in her dark version, and that's about it. I can. There's two other things that I could tell you, but that's only because I tried to play through the game last year, year before last, and I remember something about dragon poop. That's about it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not a memory from when I originally played it. For whatever reason, and I don't know why, because it's not that hard for RPG to get underneath my heart. Lunar just did not stand out to me. I don't remember anything about the game, and that's just what it is. Not everything is for everybody. And this RPG was not for me. Mario RPG, oh yeah.
Yeah.
For me and for everybody. So, we'll go ahead and put Lunar below Mega Man 8, and then we'll call it a day. No, I'm good with it being down below, somewhere
how about
below
between Mario Kart and Twisted Metal. Really, I just want on the list. It's a remake remaster. If you're interested in playing Lunar, go play the one for Sega CD. It's so much better. So yeah, I don't care what is on the list. I just want it on the list.
Yeah, it's just I put it to you then. What did you have more fun playing, Lunar or Twisted Metal 2? What did you enjoy more? What would you play right now?
Right. Well, see that, and this is one of those cases where what would I play right now actually probably wouldn't work, because I'd probably play Lunar, just because it would have aged better and stuff like that. And I love Lunar, so I'd probably play it over it. But as far as back then, I don't know. I'd probably still play Lunar, maybe.
Yeah, this
just
is
because of how much I played Lunar. I mean, like I said, hundreds of hours in the Sega CD version. So
yeah,
but I'd also go play the Sega CD version.
Yeah, it's such a tricky game with our Game of the Year, because the mentality is, I mean, you got to think when this list does catch up to itself in, say, 2021, We're debating. All right, what was the best game of this year?
Mm-hmm.
It's so hard to take ourselves back 23 years and figure out, what was the best for us. But that's kind of the idea of what we're trying to do here. We're trying to give what we believe is our agreed upon game of the year for that year. I know that I had more fun with every single one of these games but Lunar. So I'm willing to leave it up to you where you'd put it. I mean, the episode is game of the year, period. So, I mean, it's not game of the year.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm okay with it either above or below Twisted Metal. Like I said, I don't really care. I would put it above like Mega Man because it's Mega Man. Come on.
Yeah, but that would be putting it directly on top of Mega Man, and I'm not having that shit. So we'll leave it above. As crazy, stupid logic as that sounds, that's where we'll leave it at. So, there you have it, folks. End of Time Cast has gone through another year of Game of the Year deliberation, and from the bottom to the top, we have Pokemon Red and Blue, Resident Evil, Mega Man 8, Twisted Metal 2, Lunar, Silver Star Story Complete, Mario Kart 64, Super Mario RPG, and the End of Time Cast Game of the Year for 1996 is Super Mario 64. Yeah, I'm totally down for that, man. All of these games, especially these top 3, 4, 5. I mean, this is a list right here. This is This is another added bonus of you guys and gals checking out this list. I mean, you can go through every one of these years, and we're recommending some solid shit. I mean, this is stuff that you can go find these games and still have a good time today, but you could definitely look at them and argue their point even for when they came out. Many of these games hold up to this day. Resident Evil, it's just the tank controls, man. And it really is. Twisted Metal 2, I actually played last year for a little while. It still holds up, believe it or not. It really does. All these games really hold up. And I mean, if you put yourself in that nostalgic mind frame, in that classic old school gaming mentality, you could get the mechanic of tank controls fits this game. It just fits that era. It fits this style. It fits what it's supposed to be. So, in any event, we have it. We've done it. Another game of the year, just in the books, out of the way. I am certain that there are many of you out there that have your own pick of game of the year. We're interested in hearing that. We're interested in hearing what games you think deserve to be on this list, where they deserve to be. What do you think the game of the year should be? Do you agree with our decision? Do you disagree? Are there games that we didn't even nominate that you feel deserve a solid nomination? What about all this Google I have forgotten the name of it. That's how that's how uninterested I am right now. And I mean, I say that in a business respectful way. I'm uninterested, not because I don't care. It has some good things that it seems to want to bring to the table, but not enough game stuff, specifically individual games, for my attention yet. So who knows? Maybe 2 years from now, we'll be singing an entirely different tune. But for right now, for the opening the door and showcasing what they have, I'm not interested. But are you? What are your thoughts on this new Google gaming venture they're trying? Have you as well jumped into the Devil May Cry franchise? Is this your first? Are you playing Devil May Cry 5? Is that your first? Are you very well versed in the Devil May Cry franchise? Are you new, haven't played any of them, and don't know where to start? If you want to discuss any Devil May Cry stuff, we would love to hear any video game conversation you would like to throw our way. I promise you, again, it's one of the reasons why we do this podcast, period. There are many ways to contact us and get a hold of us and engage in discussion with us. We have a Facebook page. You can search Facebook for End of Time Cast. It'll should take you to our page, and it may be how you got to this episode right here. We have an email. You can send us email at endoftimecast@gmail.com. That's endoftimecast@gmail.com. No funny numbers in there. Just spell it as you heard it. We have a Twitter page. You can tweet us, retweet us, however you choose to do that. We have other branched out versions where you can hear us. We are on SoundCloud. That's where our mainstay is. But we have you should be able to at this point, hopefully, in quotes in Google, type in End of Time Cast and share this with others, or find other episodes. And yeah, there's just many ways to get a hold of us, and we would love to hear feedback from our audience about anything and everything. And again, even now at 85 episodes, probably a good chance you're going to get your email or message to us read out loud and discussed on the podcast. So yeah, that's going to do it for tonight's episode of End of Time Cast. And until next time, I'm Michael.
And I'm Chris.
Good night, everybody.